beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Wendy Bell Radio is live with the Wide Awake Mary Walters.
Walter, there's no S here. Let's do that again.
Go ahead.
I said Walter, not Walters. So can we do that again?
Wendy Bell Radio is live with Mary Walter, Wide Awake. All right, get it out of the way so we can move on, hopefully.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's good to be back. I like being back on the Wendy Bell Show. It's a lot of fun. We have so much, by the way, so much planned for this hour, but 3 hours. I sent Brock a whole bunch of show prep last night. He's like, I think you have enough for 5 hours of radio. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm an over preparer. So I was good in school.
Which Brock loves.
Yes, I over prepare a lot. I'm like, should I take some out? He's like, no, leave it all. So I was up late last night prepping because I have to read everything, so that I know what I'm talking about. I just don't look at the story and go, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. No, I actually read and I get names so that I know what I'm doing and I make notes. And I got my stack here and, I make notes on everything. And then I do a cut sheet and I have all my cut and I make the note on the story that there's audio for this and the cut number. So I'm organized. And so I texted Brock, hold on. Should I read the texts? Should I read them? Should I read them out loud? Hold on.
I don't know. Did I swear or anything?
No, you did not. I wouldn't read it if you swore.
Okay.
So I just want to get the times in.
4:35.
4:30. Yeah. So I texted Brock last night at 8. What time did I text you? 8:29 p.m. A normal time to text someone, and I asked you about your X profile because I know we're friends, but I couldn't find you when I type in Brock Schneider. I couldn't find you. I said, I want to tag you. And I get no response until 4:35, approximately 4.5 hours after I went to bed last night. I get one text, and it's a story, and my phone just vibrates because the text that's off, but it just vibrates, and I'm like, oh, I heard that. But because he has an iPhone, I get another text with his Twitter handle. I'm like, okay, that's 2. Then there's a little bit of a wait, and I didn't check it because I'm like, whoever's texting me at 4:30 in the morning, I don't care because if somebody's dead, they're still going to be dead at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it doesn't matter. I'm not checking it. So then that wasn't enough. Then there's he waits a little bit, and just as I fall back, there's a third text. And I was like, who the hell is this? So I pick it up, and it's you.
Well, you have to remember, in fairness, Wendy and I start at 2:30 in the morning.
I'm not Wendy.
I know you're not, which is why I waited till 4:30. But now I know.
Look, I'm a normal person. I'm a normal person who doesn't go to bed at 7 and get up at 2:30 in the morning. So I said to him, I texted back and said, I had no intention of being up now, ... but good morning, ... And then he texts back, I hope I didn't wake you up. Well, yes, because I'm a normal person. Then he texts me again and says, go back to bed. I won't text you. Like, well, I'm up now. Why are you up so early?
Some people can fall back asleep, which leads me into this. I have to put this on the screen. It's going to cover you. If you need better sleep, less stress, pain relief after exercise, sounds good to you? You need to hear about CBD Distillery, cbdistillery.com. Yeah, you can use the QR code right there. Right now, they're running a sale, up to 50% off. Code Rumble up to 50% off all of their products. So if you have a problem falling asleep and staying asleep, they have gummies for that, which are really good. I've used them before. Wendy uses the stuff on her hands for arthritis type stuff. I used a roll-on. It works great too. But check them out, cbdistillery.com, up to 50% off all their stuff. Code Rumble. That's on everything.
So do all of your friends and family get an additional discount because you have a tendency to text like a vampire?
Oh, here we go. Well, what would you rather wake up to, a text from me or your cat licking its butt? I got a text yesterday telling me all about our cat licking her butt. No, I didn't get a text. I got a phone call.
There's no proof of that. Oh, look at the cat.
I got a phone call. You're on. There you go.
There you go.
I got a phone call about her cat licking its butt. I'm like, okay.
I think she has to go to the vet.
Yeah.
Well, that time this morning when she was looking at her butt with my phone, I had the flashlight on, trying to see what's going on down there because she doesn't like you looking at it, right? She doesn't like, I guess
I wouldn't like it either.
Well, she's doing it right on the bed. Don't put your leg up in the air and proceed if you don't want people looking at what you're doing.
Oh,
so I think she's got to go to the vet anyway.
Do you guys see my stress level?
What's your, are you stressed?
All right, here we go.
Are you? Did you just leave me because I make you stressed? Is that what just happened?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to your daily dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
I am angry. We are not going back. Not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at you.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we are converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program. Filling in for Wendy is the host of the Mary Walter podcast. Welcome, fill-in radio queen, Mary Walter.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I feel so special. Aw, thank you. And I was giving Brock such a hard time. You know what? That was Wendy's idea, I bet you. That was very nice. Thank you so much. Yes, my podcast, Mary Walter Radio. I should get Wendy on it. I should actually get Brock on it too. Because I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So for those of you who don't know me, yes, Mary Walter. Often full-time employed in radio, more often not full-time employed in radio. So I bounce around and I do a lot of fill-ins for people all over. And Wendy has been so kind as to entrust her show to me, at least for a day. But I think I'm going to be back in the summer when she's out. You can find my podcast. It's we do it on Tuesday nights, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. It's live on YouTube and Getter, and it's interactive. It's a live cast, and so you can ask questions and leave comments. And we have a running dialogue that is going on during the podcast. So we often go off on tangents and go in other directions. But you can ask the guests questions and things like that. So sometimes we talk politics, sometimes we don't. And then the audio is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker. You just look for Mary Walter Radio on there, and on X as well. Excuse me. And I'll look for that on X as well. As I just said, I got a little, I don't know, like an allergy thing going on here. I don't know. I was up so early this morning. I've been drinking a lot of coffee, so that may be it. So I want to start off talking about something that I just saw on TV when I was making my coffee. So apparently, we kept hearing that Putin agreed in principle to the U.S. proposed 30-day Ukraine ceasefire, right? So Putin was like, he agreed in principle. But he said he needs some terms and conditions still yet to be determined to ensure lasting peace. Now, Witkoff, Trump's envoy Witkoff, headed over to Russia and to meet with Vladimir Putin last night. And what I saw on Fox this morning, that apparently there's no deal. that Putin has a whole bunch of things that he wants. It's totally conditional. So now I'm seeing that Zelensky, and there's no story up yet on any of the outlets. Like I looked at Fox, looked at, Breitbart, Citizen Free Press, the usual suspects. Nothing out yet, but apparently Zelensky now is saying that Putin says that he accepts the precepts of a ceasefire, but he really doesn't want peace. So it's going to be interesting to see when we get more on exactly what's going on there. But I just wanted to let you know that there seems to be a little bit of a disagreement. Now, along those lines, I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Now, let's see. What cut is it, Brock? You know all of these cuts. This is cut 6. So I want to jump into this because President Trump met with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. And I am so glad that they now have a UN Secretary General that has a name I can pronounce. Like Boutros Ghali, I think was the last one whose name I could pronounce. Because, they rotate through the countries. So some of the names are really hard. But this one's Mark Rutte. I was like, okay, I could do that. So they were in the Oval yesterday. And did anybody notice and I don't know if this is new, but, Trump sits there in the gold chairs. And the guest always sits in what he calls the vice president's chair. So there's Trump when you're looking on the right, and there's the guest on the left. So Rudy's on the left, Trump's on the right when you're looking at it. And there's a fireplace behind them. It looks to me, because I don't remember this ever being there before, that Trump put like gold scrolls across the fireplace between, where the fire burns and the mantle up top. Like he put gold scrolls thing there. That man loves his gold, I gotta tell you. His taste in decorating is kind of like high Italian, back in like the Renaissance, Baroque whorehouse. That's just the way I see it. I love Trump. But I just think his taste in decorating is horrible. It's too much. It's like everything. And then on either side of if you notice this too, on either side of the mantle, there's it looks like tables that have like a gold bird or something holding them up. So let's go to that, and maybe you could see it here if you're watching. This is the NATO Chief Secretary General Mark Rutte, and here's what he says to Trump about the possible peace deal between Zelensky and Putin.
And finally, Ukraine, you broke the deadlock. As you said, all the killing, the young people dying, cities getting destroyed. The fact that you did that you started the dialogue with the Russians and the successful talks in Saudi Arabia now with the Ukrainians. I really want to commend you for this. So, The Hague is my hometown. I love to host you there in the summer and work together to make sure that will be a splash, a real success, projecting American power on the world stage.
Okay, so I'm looking at a picture from when I was in the Oval Office, and that stuff was not on the fireplace. It's not on the fireplace. So Trump added that gold. He added that. Oof. God bless him. He's got the money, but I think it's a bit much. All right. So what you heard there, though, he really heaped praise on Trump, and I thought that was fantastic. He said to him that I'm really proud of you. This is your role. He gave Trump 100% credit, and you see, he invited him to The Hague in order to showcase Trump and America on the world stage. I'm like, man, this guy is really kissing Trump's butt. It's so different. And I say this all the time. But this time around just feels so different than the last time around. Yeah, you got Canada who's upset with us, and all the countries that Trump is putting tariffs on, they're all mad at us. And I kind of get it. But, Canada has like a 240% tariff on butter coming from Vermont into Canada. If we're going to say, okay, well, if you're going to tax our butter 240%, we're going to tax whatever, your maple syrup 240%. I don't have a problem with reciprocal tariffs. They're just that. They're reciprocal. Well, you started it. You can finish it. So I don't have a problem with that. But you do have some countries that seem to be annoyed at Trump, that seem to be mad at him. But it's this guy, the NATO Secretary General, really seems to, I think, get it. And I think he sees the writing of where Trump is, that Trump means business this time, that it's a different game this time, and Trump knows the ropes, and Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And it's a different game. And as we go through the show, I think there's going to be quite a few instances of that where it's like they know what Trump is. Trump knows what he's doing this time around, and he trusts no one. He's surrounded himself with people that he knows he can trust. And I know the left was criticizing him for that. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? If you got stabbed in the back continuously last time around, why wouldn't you surround yourself with people that you can trust this time around? That just makes sense to me. Now, one of the other things that the Secretary General hit him up with, because this was just to me such a fawning presser that they had in the Oval Office. It's not really a presser. It's a, what do they call it? A scramble, something like that. And Biden never did them. Trump does them and takes questions. Biden would just sit there. Remember, they'd be in the Oval and he'd be there with the Secretary General, whomever. And Biden would say to him, this is Secretary General Bob. He would never remember the guy's name. And then he'd just sit there and they would shout questions at him. And he would just go. And he would just, put his head in his hand and just, I don't know, go off to his happy place in his head, and he wouldn't answer any questions. Trump loves it. And Rudy had to know that as well, because he also praised Trump for his efforts to get the other members of NATO to pay their fair share. This is something that Trump did during his first term. And that's another thing. Rudy compared Trump 45 to Trump 47. And he praised Trump 45 to getting the other members to pay their fair share and for calling them out for not paying their fair share. And Trump was raked over the coals for saying that, well, if you guys don't pay your fair share, we're not going to defend you. Why should we be paying for everything and then we have to come and defend you too? No, you got to pay in. This is an equal partnership. And if it's not an equal partnership, we're not coming to your rescue. And a lot of people got really mad that Trump is destroying NATO and everything else. Well, it worked. Rudy talked about the EU's call this month for $874 billion in new defense spending among their 27-member bloc. In other words, they're going to beef up their own military instead of depending on us. He also mentioned recent commitments from the UK and Germany to surge spending in those countries. He told Trump, I think they want to work together with you in the run-up to the next summit to make sure that we will have a NATO, which is newly invigorated under your leadership. So giving Trump credit for these countries instead of just sitting back and expecting the U.S. to defend them, Trump's saying, hey, you got to spend some of your own money. He said, what happened the last couple of weeks is really staggering. But he acknowledged there's more that can be done. Last week, Trump again went after NATO members for not meeting the spending target of 2% of their gross domestic product on defense. So now they're doing it. So good for Trump. And if I get any more information on this ceasefire, if there is one, if there isn't one, what's happening, I will update you. Okay? We'll have more coming up. We're going to talk about how it's a different time. This time around, with Trump 2.0. I'm Mary Welter in for Wendy Bell on The Wendy Bell Show. Okay.
My radio side didn't work.
What does that mean?
So I have to run every radio station, obviously. So I have buttons I need to push to trigger their systems to play what I needed to play.
Oh, okay.
And when I pushed the button, nothing happened.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh.
That seems to be endemic to radio. You're supposed to just push one button and it all fires, and it never does.
It never does. It never does. That's the frustration.
Yeah. How many stations is Wendy on?
We just picked up 20 some. So I want to say we're probably on around 40. We're waiting for a list of all the stations that carry us. We're in Texas, Tennessee, New York now, Michigan.
We're in New York.
Rochester. Is it Rochester?
Oh, Rochester. Okay.
But there's a couple different stations owned by the same guy that's in different parts of New York. So, yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
We're growing. We're growing slowly but surely.
That's fantastic. So I forgot about that section at the top that you and I were just talking, and then you play the Wendy Bell Show thing. That little, where you said Mary Walter, the fill-in host. Would you normally play that coming out? I forgot.
Just for the opens.
Just for the opens. Okay.
Yeah.
So is there that little section there for a couple of minutes where you talk and then you play that, or was that?
So we do the 6 minutes, right?
Right. Okay.
So then I play the open.
Okay.
And we come off the same thing. So when I take myself off, just count to like 7 so I can play bumper music for the radio stations.
Gotcha.
You won't hear it. You guys won't hear it because of the way the system's set up.
Got it.
So
Okay. All right. And that was very nice that you made that bumper for me. Thank you.
Well, thanks for noticing it was there last time, but
Well, it was a long time. It's been almost a year.
I know. Real quick, we all know Wendy's out, but Ireland Contracting is at Wendy's house right now, fixing her lights in her kitchen. But Ireland Contracting does more roofs, siding, fascia, new windows. They have a financing for all of it. So check out Ireland Contracting, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Dan will come do some electrical work for you. The rest of them will fix the exterior of your house. So
I need them.
Well, they don't come out as far as you. So.
I know.
Well,
I'm waiting for my contractor. I don't know where he is. I wish I could show you what I've got going on. I got doors over here that need to be stripped.
Oh boy. All right, here we go.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Show. I'm Mary Walter, sitting in for Wendy. Hope everybody's having a good day, and it's Friday. I'm so excited that it's Friday. There's just a lot going on. My husband is actually in Africa right now on a medical mission, so my clock is kind of off a little bit because I have to be on his clock and I have to be on my clock at the same time. So, and I have to be on Brock's clock. So it's just a big mess. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Trump and some foreign stuff going on. I love this. This is cut one, Brock. So this is Trump. Yesterday, they're on NBC News. Courtney Kuby is a reporter for NBC, and I want you to hear what she had to say here. She's talking about U.S. officials who are familiar with planning efforts in the White House, and I hate this stuff that's on the supposedly anonymous sources. I always try to take those with a grain of salt until they can be verified, because I think it's irresponsible to do it otherwise. But at least they say that these are anonymous sources or sources, speaking off the record, that type of thing. So this is Courtney Kuby on NBC yesterday. Listen to what she says about the Panama Canal.
This is all about an effort to deter China, Jose. So the U.S., the Trump administration, and frankly, some in the U.S. military believe that China is still trying to take control over parts of the canal. The concern is that if there is a conflict, China would try to exercise that any kind of control or any land or ownership that they have in Panama or of the canal, and they would try to stop the U.S. military or any U.S. ships from using it as a transit point. Of course, that would have a huge impact on not only supplies, but it could impact the U.S. military. In an effort to try to put off any kind of effort that the Chinese could try in any sort of a war, now the Trump administration believes that the U.S. military needs to have a greater presence in Panama. So among the options that were presented as draft options to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth this week by U.S. Southern Command are everything from increasing the military presence in Panama with partnered mill-to-mill relations with the Panamanian military, to building U.S. military jungle schools. Of course, the U.S. has had those in the past where they train generally special forces in sort of jungle warfare in the area. But there's everything from maintaining that free passage of the canal all the way to the United States ultimately having full control and ownership of that canal. Now, again, these are draft options. Nothing has been decided. But the belief among the officials we spoke with is that Panama will be on board with the U.S. having an enhanced presence in Panama, so that most of these options will be more about the partnering, the enhanced presence, but they are not ruling out the possibility of the U.S. really taking more ownership of the canal in the future.
So it sounds like Trump is really serious about taking the Panama Canal. I kind of laughed at it. I was like, oh, yeah, Trump's just trolling. Trump's being Trump. He's just doing his thing. Apparently not. But I get it. I get it. I understand. China's very smart. They have this Belt and Road project, and they're now moving into the Caribbean, where they're building roads, and they're putting in other infrastructure and healthcare and food into like Grenada, Barbados, Antigua. They're getting closer and closer to our back door. We were always separated. You know, we had this Western hemisphere where we never really, China wasn't really here. Cuba was the biggest problem, right? That was it. And now it's China, and China's very smart with what they're doing. They're coming in with a lot of money. Their people are starving, but they're coming in with a lot of money, and they're doing this for these other countries. And these people are like, the Chinese are great. And one of the things they were doing was in Panama. And I think Trump is smart. I think Jimmy Carter made a really dumb decision when he gave them the Panama Canal for $1. And it was because at the time, the people of Panama were very upset with the U.S. presence in Panama. And so Jimmy Carter's like, okay, I'll give you what you want. And then they got Noriega. And then Bush had to go in and take Noriega out because he was a disaster. And didn't they keep Noriega? Was that Noriega where they were blasting the music, like rap music, at his palace so that he couldn't seem to kind of like drive him nuts? Is that Noriega? I remember reading something about that. I don't remember. So they're developing potential plans that vary from partnering more closely with Panamanian security forces to even the option, but much less likely, of U.S. troops seizing the Panama Canal by force. That's obviously an absolute last thing that they want to do. But it is important that they keep the Chinese out of control of that canal. I didn't realize it's 50 miles. Did you know it's 50 miles long? Like, I just never thought of it. It makes sense. But when you look at the map, you know, you lose perspective. Like 50 miles, that's 50 miles long? I didn't know. So if China gets control of operating that canal, U.S. ships would have to go all the way down around South America and all the way back up to get from the West Coast to the East Coast and vice versa. Also, it was built specifically to handle our military ships, our military vessels, to come through there. And if we can't move our military, that's huge for China. If we wanted to send military ships over to China, to the Pacific, and they're on the East Coast, they're in Virginia, they're somewhere on the East Coast, they'd have to go all the way down around South America in order to get there. So I think this is really smart on Trump's part. I think that trying to stop what's happening. And I don't know, did nobody know about this before? I've never heard of this before. Did we not have any idea that China was sitting there in Panama, slowly infiltrating? I mean, are we going to let them infiltrate all these Caribbean countries? They're right in our backyard. I know a lot of people don't think anything of it, but I think it's a big deal. So they're also talking about stationing more troops there. We have troops there, about 2,000, but stationing more there. And you heard maybe doing things like jungle training, which they used to do there. They took those troops out of there, but it would give us a reason to have more troops there. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. All right, we got more coming up. Don't go anywhere. Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell on The Wendy Bell Show.
I think we absolutely need to take Panama Canal back. We built it.
That Jimmy Carter.
Well, what this is the guy who started the Department of Education too. But I mean, at some point, shouldn't we make some money off of it?
You know, it's funny. There's a mindset with some people. I used to work in a. I was part of. I didn't work for them. Our church had a house tour in our town because our town has a lot of old, big beach homes. I live in one of them from the 1880s that is constantly in need of repair. Those people, whoever those people were, I need them.
Carbon contracting.
Yes, I need them. And so we did house tours. It was really popular, and everybody in town had, like, the police donated their time because it would go. Our church in our town, the school doesn't have a cafeteria. The kids go home for lunch, so they use the cafeteria. Yeah.
I'd never come back, but
Yeah, they go home for lunch or they go to the pizzeria or whatever. So, or they bring a lunch and sit and eat. So the parish center, we have a parish center in town. There's one church parish center, and it has a big gym, and it's got a big kitchen. So, you know, the Boy Scouts use it. So we raised money, fundraised for all of that. Everybody took part in it. And and I was just like, we're making money. We're not doing this for our health. So one of the places next town over donated, like, muffins and this and that. We bought water, and there were women who wanted to give it away, and they wanted to have a senior discount. I'm like, discount. I'm like, they got more money than everybody, than any other generation coming after them. And if they can't pay the extra $10, really, then you probably shouldn't be going on a house tour. I'm just saying, stay home and play bingo. You probably, right? You shouldn't be doing it if you can't.
Costs money too.
Well, yeah, but if you could stay at home and play with friends, or, you know, mahjong, whatever. So,
Pinochle.
I'm sorry,
Pinochle.
Oops, I'm a little blurry again. Sorry,
I went out of focus.
I did. I'm sorry. Here, let me focus it again. Okay, there we go. Here we go. So I was like, no, we should charge for this, but they didn't want to do it. It'll be a nice little perk. I was so mad that my husband and I, and it's somebody else, or one of the other husbands, one of the wives, was working that little thing, you know, where people come over for stuff. We just charged everybody.
Why not? What? I mean, it's charity. Why would you give any? Why wouldn't you just donate to begin with?
Exactly.
So, like, here's $5.
Right.
You know, $5, it's a day's work for me. But I mean, for most people, $5. But if you want to make money, Texas Bullion. WendyLovesGold.com. Texas Bullion. The price of gold has gone up. The price of silver has gone up. My silver bar made me money sitting at home.
Wow. Does it make you coffee, though?
No.
Oh.
Neither does my wife. So TexasBullion.com. WendyLovesGold.com. That's the one. WendyLovesGold.com. Check them out. Wendy's a client. They sponsor the show, they sponsor the podcast, but Wendy's also a client. I'm trying to break into her house. I don't even know if that's where the gold's at. Who knows? But like, check them out. They're gonna be collabing with us on a Wendy Bell Radio coin, which I think is gonna be super cool. But WendyLovesGold.com, WendyLovesGold.com. Check them out. They're good people, knowledgeable. Not a harsh sell, that hard sell. You talk to them, they explain things. WendyLovesGold.com. Texas Bullion.
Very nice.
I'm gonna bounce another one because you're a pet lover.
I am.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend dog food. It is like crack for dogs. Stuff's expensive. I'll start with the stuff's expensive. The pet show that happens every Saturday, Dr. Mike knows him, speaks very highly of the guy, says, you know, he's been ahead of the curve on all this natural eating. It's freeze dried. I use it as a topper. Wendy uses a topper for the dog. Put it in, mix a little together, makes a little gravy. My dog absolutely goes bonkers for this stuff. I told Mary, I woke up at 3, the dog was in my face. Let's go. I'm ready to eat. So Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend dog food. I never get that one. healthydog1.com. Check them out. You can watch a video. He explains all the stuff that you need to know about pet digestion and pet health. So check it out. healthydog1.com.
You know what the problem is? You got an extra half hour of sleep this morning, and now you're just a mess.
You know, I'm not complaining. I have the best job in the world. But when Wendy's off, I've now pulled double duty because if you don't read them, you don't get paid. So, yeah, that's a little stress. And Mary's like, "Oh no, it takes you 15 minutes to get to work. It's not like you live in Philly. 30 minutes today. 2 accidents. Streetcars broken down.
God got you for texting
Yeah,
me at 4:30 in the morning.
You 100% jinxed me. So there you go.
No. You jinxed yourself.
No, you jinxed
I
me.
did nothing. I was merely the recipient of those texts and because you have an iPhone, it comes through like one text is like 2 texts. It's annoying.
All right,
Get out of the cult. Get an Android. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Show. I'm Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell. She's had a lot of work done at her home. She's taking a long weekend. Well deserved. Good for her. All right. So, I'm just seeing this. There's so much this time of day when you do a show like this time of day, and also in the afternoon, like this time and the afternoon is when so much news breaks. And I thought this was so interesting. Homeland Security agents conducted searches in 2 students' rooms at Columbia on yesterday or on Thursday. And the president of the school said, the interim president, why is there an interim president? Oh, yeah. She said she's heartbroken. She told the campus community, I'm writing heartbroken to inform you that we had federal agents from the Department of Homeland Security in 2 university residences tonight. No one was arrested or detained. No items were removed, and no further action was taken. They served Columbia, the DHS agents served Columbia with 2 judicial search warrants signed by a judge, which met the university's requirement for law enforcement to enter non-public areas. See, if they were protesters, then they could just go break in anywhere they want and stay there as long as they want and do whatever they want. But because they're not, they have to follow the rules. The details surrounding the room searched and the purpose of the search were not immediately available, and the university was obligated to comply by the law. But she also said that, she says, I understand the immense stress our community is under. Your community is under immense stress because of your inaction, because you have these rules and these laws of conduct around your campus and you don't enforce them. And now accountability is happening. Someone else said, okay, Trump's like, daddy's home. And Trump's like, you're not going to enforce the rules. I am. See, I'm a big fan of, you can protest, you can have free speech, you can do all that. But when your protests, your right to protest ends where my rights begin. So you don't have the right to occupy a building. You don't have the right to vandalize something. You don't have the right, in my humble opinion, to hand out or support a terrorist group. Hamas is a designated terrorist group. So I don't think we should allow you to support a terrorist group. That's not free speech. I just don't think that's free speech at that point. Now, someone pointed out, I saw an argument being made on X where, all the great debaters go. And they were saying, well, what about Nazi Germany? The Bunds, the German Bunds, still had meetings, etc. But I don't think that they were organizing on college campuses and protesting and keeping Jewish kids from going to class and harassing Jewish students on college campuses around this country. I just don't think that was happening, or harassing them in the streets, harassing Jews in the streets. I don't think that was happening. Now, I wasn't around. I know. But I just don't think that was happening in this country, and I just don't think it should be allowed to happen. If we're at basically at war, someone's a terrorist group, and we consider them a terrorist group, state designated as such, I don't know. It's hard. I just don't think you should, especially when you're keeping kids. See, that's the line for me. When you're keeping Jewish kids from going to class, that's a problem. God forbid you call a man dressed as a woman teaching your class, if you call him sir instead of ma'am, they'll throw you out. You'll lose your scholarship. You're out of housing. You can't take the class. You're not getting your money back. They're going to prosecute you. All holy hell breaks loose. But if you say something horrific to a Jewish student or keep a Jewish student from going to class, well, that's free speech. So their rules of free speech are very mutable, and that bothers me. Either you're all in or you're all out. So I don't think free speech is absolute. I'm pretty good with free speech because I'm a big girl. And if I don't like what someone's saying, I'm just going to walk around it. But if I'm at school and I'm being targeted because of my color, my gender, my religion, whatever it happens to be, and I'm being targeted, I don't have the ability to just turn it off because I pay to go here. And I can't, I'm being harassed. I'm being, threats are obviously not legal, but I'm being harassed, or I have to walk through a sea of people who are calling me names and holding up placards telling me, I'm a baby killer or whatever, in order to get to class. That to me is your right to free speech is infringing on me. So that's where I am on all of this. So I'm kind of glad that the federal government is like, okay, we just want to just search these students' rooms. Let them know that someone's now watching, that daddy's home, and someone's going to be held accountable. I like it. I do like it. And like this whole thing with Mahmoud Khalil, I like saying that name. I don't know why, but I do. You know why? Because all right, I can't believe I'm going to say this very quickly, but I watched 90 Day Fiance, and there was this chick from California who was dating Mahmoud from, I don't know where he was from. And shockingly, it didn't go well, because he kept wanting her to cover up, and she was from California and wasn't having any of it, but she always used to say his name like really strongly, and it always sounded weird. So I always think of that. Anyway, this Mahmoud Khalil, he is a permanent U.S. resident. He has a green card, but he is not a citizen. And there are rules that go along with having a green card, and you have to abide by those rules. And I go to this woman, her name is Melissa Chen. She is a writer for The Spectator, and she's on all of these boards and everything. And she is a green card holder. And she outlined the responsibilities and the restrictions on green card holders. Everyone's saying this is a free speech issue. And even then, as I said, even if it is a free speech issue, I still think it has limits. She said, I had to sign papers for my immigration attorney acknowledging that he had explained to me the consequences of participating in any political protest, including signing petitions. We also had to submit all of our social media accounts for scrutiny. I changed my profile picture to one where I had on a I Love Guns and Jesus t-shirt and an I Hate Commies baseball hat just to remove any doubt. And then she said she didn't really do that. She said, can you imagine being caught on camera wearing a keffiyeh and saying you support armed resistance of any kind? She said, most Americans have no clue as to how many conditions are attached to the permanent resident status since they are born into it. This process is important for green card applicants because it proves that you want to assimilate to the American way of life. The 5-year conditional status is also a great filtering mechanism for which prospective citizens have enough self-discipline to at least wait until naturalization before engaging in any political activity. That is a base level test for the kind of immigrant you want. If the First Amendment is allowed to trump immigration law, do you even have a nation? And she's right that, this guy's he's been here for 2 years, right? He's had his green card for 2 years. I want to say something like that. And there's a 5-year probationary period. Why shouldn't the rules apply to him? That's, they can't vote. You can't vote as a green card holder. So you do have some restrictions. And I don't like when the left conflates, we're going to talk about more of this coming up, but when the left conflates just immigration, like everybody's an immigrant and they're all equal. That's not true. People who walk into this country illegally, they're like, well, they haven't committed a crime. I'm like, they literally walked in illegally. The word illegal is in the act, right? Like someone who is an illegal immigrant is not the same as someone who's gone through the process. and become a citizen. It's not that easy, and I don't think it should be that easy. I do like that there's a citizenship test. I do like that you have a probationary period. I think that those things are important. Name me another country where you just walk in and they're like, yay. Most other countries, you need to prove that you have a certain amount of income, liquid assets, that type of thing, that you have a, portfolio that you have. Because I've looked into the immigration laws in different places, and it's not that easy. And I've said my husband's in Africa right now on a medical mission in Ghana, and to get his visa to go there to do something for free, to work for these people, to help them, he had to jump through a ton of hoops. He actually had to mail his passport to the embassy in DC, the Ghanaian embassy in DC, to get out of the country. And his visa is only good for the day he's supposed to come into, the day that he leaves. And if his flight is delayed, he cannot leave the airport. He has to stay in the airport. He's never allowed to leave the airport to go to a hotel or something like that if his flight is delayed, because now his visa is no longer valid. He has to get on a plane to the United States and beat feet. So in this country, we have a movement by the left to equate all migrants, all immigrants, and they're not the same. They're not the same. And we need to start acknowledging that. And we can't let the left say that, this guy has the right to free speech. No, he doesn't. He's on a conditional. His green card has conditions. Political protests are one of those conditions. Even signing a petition, he's got to be aware of what he's doing. He has to prove in this 5-year period that he can assimilate into the United States. And he's out there in front of the cameras proving that he can't. And then everybody's like, oh, well, his wife is pregnant. She's 8 months pregnant. What's she going to do? I'm like, well, she could go with him. That's an option. That's an option. Oh, but she's American. Oh, okay. She knew what she was getting into when she married someone from somewhere else. She knew who she was marrying. This guy clearly is an activist. She knew what she was getting into. Go with him. We had a family that lived down the street from us when I was a kid, and they were from France. And the dad was working at some company in New Jersey. You've got a lot of medical corporations, a lot of pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of the chemical corporations, I know, stereotype. And so he had this job, and he was in the country for like 3 years as a CEO of some company. And when they were in the country, they had a baby. They had their third child, a little boy. And guess what? When he was done with his job, the whole country moved back to France. They didn't say, well, my son's an American, so we all get to stay. That's not how it worked. They took the kid who was born in America, and they all went back to France as a family. You can do that. That's allowed. You're allowed to do that. All of you can pick up and go. That's all right. Speaking of that, I've got some Tom Homan talking about family separation. I don't know if you saw him the other day. He was walking through Congress, and he's got this crowd around him screaming at him and everything. And he's standing there eating an apple, just listening to him. I love him. He tells you how much he doesn't care about you without saying a word. And he's so cool. Doesn't care. He's just eating an apple and letting you know he doesn't care about them at all. So we've got the Tom Homan on his views on family separation coming up. Also, California in trouble because of immigration. And Donald Trump is expected to do something today. And I'll tell you what it is. And it has to do with immigration as well. I'm Mary Walter. That's all coming up on the Wendy Bell Show.
So I have a question for you, Mary.
Yes, sir.
When you fill in you filled in on Breitbart. That's where I first heard you.
Mm-hmm.
Who else have you filled in for Hannity?
No, I've never filled in for Hannity. I filled in for Bongino, Brian Kilmeade. I've been filling in for years. Okay. Pretty much everyone at Sirius Patriot Channel, everyone but Hannity. So every show but Hannity, I fill in on all the time over there.
How many people do they have working when you're filling in? Do they have a producer, engineer?
Yeah, it depends on where it is. Like Fox is the most. Fox has an executive producer, an associate producer, and an engineer. Because it's Fox.
Not me. You have me.
Sirius, I have an engineer and a producer. When I fill in on Newsmax Radio for Rob Carson, there's a producer, and a lot of places, you don't even get that. But you do both very well, so I give you credit.
Oh well. You know why?
Why? Tell me why.
Because I start the day with my Chuck Juice. We call it Chuck Juice. They call it Morning Kick, Roundhouse Provisions Morning Kick. I'll show you again. It is
This way. There
Chuck
you go.
approved. I think the stuff's great. It does give me a kick. Someone said, how many Red Bulls have you had? 3 cups of coffee and a Chuck Juice, and I'm ready to go. And even better, it keeps you kind of regular. I know that's a little maybe TMI for this time of day, but Chuck Juice, Roundhouse Provisions, Morning Kick, chuckdefense.com/Wendy, chuckdefense.com/Wendy. Check it out. I think it tastes great, which is a lot of times the problem, that these things just don't taste that good. I like it. I gave it to my wife, who was in the middle of the day. She'd be like, oh, I had to do all this stuff. I was like, try this. And someone was nice enough to send a thing just for her because I didn't like to share it. I drink it 7 days a week, and she drinks it now too, and she likes it. So
nice.
Defense.com/Wendy.
I'm going to need that stuff if I keep working with you.
No, now I know. Don't call before.
Do not text me until I text you. Unless it's like 8:30, it's a half hour before showtime and you haven't heard from me, then call.
Listen, I'd be in full panic mode if it was a half an hour before the show and I hadn't heard from you. I might fly out to New Jersey, kick your door in, and go, let's go, and fly back. I am a Boy Scout. I am ready to do this show.
Mm-hmm.
At
Okay.
It's 7 o'clock. I'm ready to go. Now, we change some sound around sometimes, but yeah.
Right.
Wendy and I come in, we talk about the monologue, we talk about what we're going to do. Yeah.
Well, you gave me no such guidance, so I'm doing it all on my own. Speaking of which, get cut 9 ready, please.
Really? Wow.
Did you tell me I think you should do this, or I think you should do this, or we should start off with this, or anything like that? Did you? No, didn't have that conversation. Nope.
I'll be honest with you.
What?
I sent you some stuff and you end up using it.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Well,
yeah, absolutely. I expect nothing less. My God, you
gotta have
a little effort in the night before.
Well, that's it. Next time.
What?
2:30 in the morning, I'm texting you. Here we go.
No. I'm Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell. How you doing? Happy Friday. Yay. Friday. So excited. You know what I'm doing this? I'm very excited. I'm going to just pull my earplug out. I'm going to a St. Patrick's Day party tomorrow. It's at our church, but it's fun. They have a really good time. It's BYOB, so you got to love a St. Patrick's Day party that's BYOB. That's why I'm not wearing green today, because I'm going to be wearing my one green sweater that I own tomorrow. I have like nothing green, and every year I'm like, I have to buy more green stuff, and I don't have anything green. All right, so we were talking about immigration, and this Khalil Mahmoud, and everybody's on the left is saying, oh, but his wife is pregnant. What's he supposed to do? And Tom Homan was asked that question about, child separation, about what are they supposed to do? Is he going to separate the wife and the husband? He's down in Louisiana now. And here's what Tom Homan had to say.
But we want to talk about family separation? 500,000 children on Joe Biden were trafficked into this country. They can't find 300,000 of them. That's a separation.
There you go. That's separation. I just adore Tom Homan. He cracks me up. He's that guy. He's just that guy. And you could put a suit on Tom Homan. Like you could have him dressed up for an inaugural ball or something like that. And I'm sure he was at some of them. I got to go to an inaugural gala. It's very fun. And, people, and it's interesting because like the Ted Cruz's, the Ryan Zinke's, like the congressmen and women, were making the rounds of different ones. So you would see them come in and they'd be there. And Rudy Giuliani almost took my husband out. Rudy Giuliani was going hard and he had an entourage around him and he was trying to get to somewhere. And he came in and he almost knocked my husband over. My husband was like, whoa, for an old dude, he's like, if he gets up some speed, he could take you out. So, they're walking in and out and that type of thing. But if you saw Tom Homan, if Tom Homan came in to an event and he's got like a tuxedo on or a nice suit or something like that, he would be wrinkled. He's Pigpen, right? He's clean. And then as soon as he gets out of the car, he's a disaster. Like Chris Christie, right? Like he was always a mess. Like he always looked schlumpy. Tom Homan's not as large as Chris Christie, but he just has that look that, and I could be wrong, but I would just expect him to be wrinkled no matter where he goes. And his wife's always like following behind him with a steamer, trying to get the wrinkles out. That's Tom Homan. So good for him on saying that. So here's another thing we found out. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told us yesterday that the Biden administration was cooking the books on immigration. He said in a call with reporters, they were purposely misleading the American people by categorizing individuals processed and released into the interior of the U.S. They were calling those ICE arrests. So it was catch, but they never documented the release part of it. So it looks like they arrested all these people, when in reality, they arrested them and then let them go, which the left is very fond of. He said a comprehensive review was done internally here with ICE, and we found tens of thousands of cases that were recorded as arrests when, in fact, these instances were illegal aliens that were simply processed and released into the American communities. The previous administration counted these arrests even though no immigration enforcement action was taken. Senior DHS officials said the number of at-large active arrests made by ICE agents since Trump has become president is almost equal to the total ICE at-large arrests for all of fiscal year 2024, which was the most under the Biden administration. So in 2024 and fiscal year 2024, they decided, we better start cleaning this up because our candidate is the border czar. So we might want to make her look good. So look what we're doing. Arrests are up. Yes, arrests were up, but then they were releasing them. So it was all BS. It was all smoke and mirrors. They were cooking the books. We just keep finding out more and more and more. And it's maddening how the mainstream media continues to protect them. They're not going to report this, right? You're only going to get that here and a couple of other news outlets. That's it. They called them pass-through arrests because they said the overwhelming majority of these cases were ICE officers just processing new arrivals, not conducting enforcement actions. And the Trump administration arresting more than Homan. In the first 3 months of his presidency, more than Biden. In the first 3 months of his presidency than Biden did in all of fiscal year 2024. So good on Trump. Good on Trump. Coming up, I'll tell you what Trump is expected to invoke today, according to people in the know. Something's going to happen today. And that will regarding deportation. I'll tell you about that coming up. In the meantime, regarding immigration, Gavin Newsom he had to take out a loan, a $3.44 billion. Like we don't even talk about millions anymore. Now we're into billions. And then you notice the left, Bernie Sanders was always railing on about millionaires and billionaires. Now he only rails about billionaires because Bernie is a millionaire. So now they only care about billionaires and they only deal in billions of dollars. He had to get a $3.4 billion loan from the California Department of Finance to make up for a gap in Med-Cal spending because they opened up Med-Cal, their healthcare system, to anyone, including people in the country illegally. And shockingly, they're taking advantage of it. And now there's not enough money in it. California is going to go broke, and we're going to be paying for it. Mark my words. More coming up. Don't go anywhere. Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell on the Wendy Bell Show.
Sorry, I had to cut you off.
Well, fine. Just fine.
Our clock, you know what? Go back to the 35 because our clocks are obviously off.
Well, I'm looking at the bottom. Well, what do you have right now? I have 59:05, 6, 7.
Yeah, we're 10 seconds off.
Oh, well, that would have probably been a good thing to check in the beginning.
Yeah, well.
Maybe that's why it was 35 to begin with.
That might have been why.
We're such professionals. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to go refresh my coffee. Don't miss me too much. Can I go do that right now?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll get a read in.
How much time do I have?
5 minutes. Yeah.
My God, the world is mine.
You might want to go potty and everything.
I'll wait till next hour to do that. I don't want to get, I like to get up every hour so I don't get a pulmonary embolism. I'm at that age where I worry about those things. You got a drug for that?
I don't have, no. No, we don't. But
damn it.
We'll make it work.
All right. I'll be right back.
Let me tell you about Simkovich, Dr. Simkovich, and the great work he does. Wendy and I were able to go and see him and find out really what he does. And we put a video together. It's nothing special. There's no bells and whistles, but he goes into your mouth and you see what you would see. We put me on the table and you see what you would go through if you went to see Dr. Simkovich. And he sits there and he manipulates your soft palate, your brain. He calls it bloodless surgery. I've had multiple falls through seizures. I've been hit in the head with a baseball, hit in the head with a baseball bat. So I'm assuming over my life I've had concussions, and probably most people have had head trauma and probably don't know it. But Dr. Simkovich goes and manipulates and fixes basically what's wrong. He put me down. Within 30 seconds, he was like, this isn't right. Does this hurt? I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, my whole was off. And gonna go back and see him, get it fixed. But you can check him out, SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com, SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com, 412-366-3700, 412-366-3700. Check them out. Check out the video on our locals page. I'm going to put it up later today on my Facebook page too, so people can see it. So I know not everybody's a part of locals, but I'll put it up on my Facebook page. A lot of you guys are friends of mine on Facebook. And let me again, and I know you might get sick of hearing us talk about merch. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's ordered. It's humbling when you put stuff together and you never know what somebody's going to order or somebody wants or will think is cool. You guys, the Second Amendment commemorative gift has been selling like hotcakes to the point we're probably going to have more made. And, you bought the tumblers, coasters, the rocks glasses, the wine glasses, the sweatshirts. We truly do appreciate it. I know some of it's pricey, but it cost us a lot more this time because we went with quality and then having it all etched instead of printed because people were saying it's rubbing off, and we didn't want that to happen again. So we appreciate everything you guys bought from the store. And if you want to check it out, WendyBellRadio.com in the shop section. You can check all that out. You won't see the Second Amendment commemorative gift because it's what we have to do to get around. You're not allowed to sell that stuff online through the website company that we deal with, but it's an AR-15 magazine with the logo on one side, Second Amendment on the other side. They just knocked it out of the park. It looks really cool. And thank you guys all. Thank you guys all for coming today. 8,400 people on Rumble watching. So
yay!
We appreciate it.
Whoop.
Wendy's on her college tours.
My parents didn't take me anywhere to go see college. Like back in the day, you got a
No,
like I'm that old where my parents gave, we got a brochure from their guidance counselor.
Yeah.
Like when I got accepted to Villanova, I had never been on a campus tour. I had never seen it. My parents weren't taking me anywhere. They're like, yeah, good luck. Look at the brochure. Do you want to go there?
I got accepted at one school. It's like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to see it. That's where I want to go. So, but yeah, we didn't get any. I didn't do college tours, but things are a little different nowadays. But she's doing 2 today. She's doing Clemson and Georgia. So, but she will be back Monday.
All right. Yeah, I swear my nieces decided. I swear my nieces just decided to look at colleges like in Hawaii. My brother was just like, okay, we're not going to Hawaii, but they decided because they go all over the place because
why not? Free travel, Yeah. Can you blame them?
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
No, I remember my dad saying to me, he's like, I'll take out a loan to help you with school. Now, the school I went to was a private school. It was $35,000. This was 20 years ago. It was $35,000 a year. He took out a $5,000 Parent Plus loan.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow. I don't even think that covered books for a year.
Yeah, it's expensive now. It's really expensive, but it's also. And you
sit there and wonder if is it worth it anymore. You look at the way colleges are, and you're like,
it's also like a resort now.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't allowed.
Listen, it was a jail cell for me. It was no resort. So
yeah, right. I didn't even get that. I was off campus.
You're gonna hear this, so here we go.
Okay.
Dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
I am angry. We are not going back. Not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at you.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we are converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program. Filling in for Wendy is the host of the Mary Walter podcast. Welcome, fill-in radio queen, Mary Walter.
And thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Show. So I've been trying to keep up with the chat over on Rumble, but I can't multitask like that. So I can't. I'm sorry. Some people saying hi. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But I can't. I can't do that multitasking thing and talk to you at the same time. I try, but then I screw up and then, I try to read stuff and then I can't. So I apologize. Please don't think I don't love you. I do. I love you. If you do not know me, you can find me all over the radio, all over the internet. I do a lot of TV for Newsmax. I will be on Newsmax 2 between 4 and 5 today, about 4:15 today. I'll be on Newsmax 2 every Monday. I'm on with Chris Salcedo, with Michael Reagan on Mondays between 4 and 5, somewhere in there. We're on usually 4:15, sometimes 4:35, but again, that moves. You can find me on X at Mary Walter Radio. There's no S. Like Brock introduced me before as Mary Walters. There's no S because there's only one of me. So it's Mary Walter Radio on X. And if you'd like to join the podcast, that's on Tuesday nights, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time is when we start. It is a live cast, so it's interactive. So you can watch it on YouTube or on Getter, and you can leave comments and ask questions. And I usually have a guest. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes we talk politics, sometimes we don't. I love getting people who you know, names that you know, and then not talking about politics at all with them. So sometimes we do that as well. And you can also get the audio on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Spreaker. Again, just look for Mary Walter Radio. So I always put my schedule up on social media and everything. So if you follow me on X, you should know where I'm going to be and when. So, all right. I told you. Now I keep looking for updates on, see if I can find anything on the Putin and this ceasefire and whether he's agreeing to it or not. And I have not found that. All right. So I told you that Trump has been rumored that Trump was going to do something today. And they say as early as today, Trump is expected to invoke what's called the Alien Enemies Act. Now, that is a wartime act that allows the president to detain or deport natives and citizens of an enemy nation. So during World War II, what do? Rounded up the Japanese, right? And put them in camps out in California. That's the Alien Enemies Act that allowed that to happen during World War II. And that was partially used to justify the internment of those Japanese immigrants. Now, none of them were citizens. None of them had become citizens. So they were not U.S. citizens who were rounded up. So no matter what the left tells you, that's not what happened. All right. So that's during World War II. These are people who were in the country who were not citizens. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you what the facts are. Okay. The border internment of Japanese Americans was carried out under executive orders that were signed by President Roosevelt. It was not done under the Alien Enemies Act because that law does not apply to U.S. citizens. So what Trump is talking about is using that Alien Enemies Act, and would only be able to be used for people who are not American citizens. And I think that what's happening is Trump and the administration are trying to deal with these agitators who are especially on college campuses, who are not really. They're protesting against the United States. They're trying to foment these riots. And you also have dark money that is fomenting these things. You know, they all came into Trump Tower, and they came in groups of 6 or 7 through the front doors and the back doors. Like they were just coming in to, look at the mall, do some shopping, maybe get some coffee. And then when they got into the lobby area, they took their shirts off or whatever they had on, sweatshirts, etc., and they all had the same T-shirts on. Who's paying for the T-shirts, right? I think those are things that we need to know. Who's paying for the T-shirts? So those are the things that I think Trump is going at here. That's what he is going for as far as this Alien Act. And of course, the left is going to have a meltdown. Along those lines, I want to go to cut 10 because this is a woman from Cuba. I don't know who she is. She was on X. And somebody posted this from, I think it's TikTok. And this woman is talking to Americans who continue to call Trump a dictator and who say, Trump's literally Hitler, etc. And I want you to hear what she has to say. And I think a lot of this has to do with, I think Americans are so clueless. The further you get away from your immigration story, the more clueless you are about what you have in America versus elsewhere in the world. This is just a very short clip. Listen to what she has to say.
Imagine telling someone who was born in a dictatorship that Donald Trump is a dictator. If any Cubans or anybody else who was born in a dictatorship, had gone through a dictatorship, hears what you're saying or reads what you're saying, I guarantee you they are cracking up right now. All I do is laugh on this app every day. You guys make me laugh so much because I'm like, oh my God, the privileged Americans have no idea. They're cosplaying oppression and they don't know the first thing about being oppressed. A dictator, really?
Yeah, you don't know the first thing about being oppressed. My aunt just died. My father's sister just passed away 2 days ago. And my uncle was calling me from the funeral home, and he needed to know, I don't don't know why, where her parents were born in Germany. And I happen to have some of their old passports that doesn't have the town. But my one of my cousins and I figured out exactly where, my grandfather was born, where my grandmother was born. And so, but because I have that strong connection to the generation that came here, that came to this country, I remember my grandparents telling me why they came here. I remember my grandparents talking about sending food back to their siblings and their families in Germany during World War II. I just remember the stories and what my grandparents went through to become citizens. So I think it makes you more aware. And then the further you get from that generation, the less you appreciate it. And I also think it's the less you appreciate what they went through and what you have. So I think that has a lot to do with these people like, oh, Trump's a dictator. Trump's this, Trump's that. Someone who came here from Cuba from an actual dictatorship is the only person you should be listening to when it comes to, Trump's a dictator. And part of that is, and we will talk about this throughout the show too, is that Democrats just keep lighting their hair on fire for everything. After a while, you just don't pay attention to it anymore. And I think that that's one of the things that's different this time around, Trump 47 versus Trump 45. The left is having a hard time riling up the general American public this time around because we had Biden in between. And I wasn't upset, but I was really bummed when Biden got the election in 2020. I really was upset. I'm like, what is going to happen to this country? Will we ever have, another Republican again, et cetera? And so, now I see how good it was that Biden was in the middle, because it kind of reminded us of how good it was under Trump, and then we had Biden, and it helped that that Biden was basically comatose, because even Democrats, even liberals that I know who hated Trump were like, oh, Biden, and then when you got cackles, that didn't help either. So I think that having Trump lose in 2020 was actually a blessing. Because now when he won this time around, people were like, yes, let's go, hit the ground running. And that's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. One bad thing, though, with Trump, and we had talked a little bit about the tariffs and the reciprocals. So stop crying at me about tariffs. Stop it. Oh, our stuff's going to be more expensive. Yeah, but it's going to open up the markets. It's going to open up the markets. So people in Vermont who make butter can sell their butter to Canada without a 249% tax on it. All right. So yeah, it'll open up the market. So you can't get maple syrup from Canada for a little while, or it's going to be super expensive. Oh, well, you will somehow survive. I have faith that you will somehow survive. But on CNBC, Andrew Ross Sorkin, he was on Morning Joe yesterday morning, which, by the way, I do sometimes watch. Morning Joe. And I love to count how many times they invoke January 6th on Morning Joe. It has been less and less, but I still like to do it. But everything with this is like, oh, it's an existential threat to democracy, and it's this, and it's that. And then I hearken back to what they used to say, and then what they say now, and their hypocrisy and all of that. But so Andrew Ross Sorkin was on Morning Joe, and he was talking about the tariffs. And he said, well, there's another side effect of the tariffs that people aren't talking about. It's not just the prices, but foreigners aren't coming to the U.S. And he said he talked to people in the travel industry and people that are involved in airlines and hotels. And he said this trade war is going to turn into something broader than just a trade war. He said people in other countries are not coming to the United States the way they used to. You're going to see travel drop. Foreigners are saying, we don't like these people, literally, meaning us, the Americans, because we voted for Trump, so they don't like us. And so they don't like us. And I think that has an economic impact, but it has a much broader, more profound impact that has not even been sort of calculated in what's going on here. Yeah, I get it. I think people may boycott for a little while, but it's all going to sort itself out. And then I think the boycotts are going to stop. I do. I think that people will come back. And, in the meantime, rates may go down at some hotels, et cetera, and Americans may be able to go on vacation. The Jersey Shore, we get a lot of Canadians. Well, maybe we'll have some Canadians, and maybe American families can now afford to spend a week at the Jersey Shore because the rooms won't be in as much demand. So there you go. So maybe there's a good side to this Andrew Ross Sorkin, whose name I cannot say. All right, coming up, we got Doge and we got Democrats screaming. I'm Mary Walter. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Show.
I don't understand why people are getting, every time you hear Canada complain about the tariffs, you have a press conference with Trump talking about people investing $500 million in bringing manufacturing back to America. And I think we're going to see a renaissance with manufacturing, and people are going to be people are going to get back to work. And if Trump is able to pull off this no taxes for people making under $150,000, I think that's going to be a game changing, because now that $80,000 job is like $100,000 job.
So here's my thing.
Yes.
I think everybody should have a stake in the game. I think everybody should have a stake in the game, because you know what? And I like the idea of there's no incentive for those people to get a job that earns $200,000 then.
Agreed.
Right. So there's no incentive to better yourself, because if I make just this amount, I don't have to pay taxes. So somebody else is going to pick up the tab for me. There's people who now who if they're making 150 and they're going to get a bump up, or they're going to make like incentives or something for sales or whatever it is, they get a bonus. They may not want that bonus because, it's going to put me over 150,000. I'm going to pay taxes. I'm going to wind up losing money. I think everybody needs to have a stake in the game. Everybody's got to have skin in it. Sorry.
I would like to see the IRS go away completely.
I would too.
I think someone making $250,000 a year with no taxes is going to put way more back in the economy than their taxes will do. And what are our taxes doing for us? Nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So
all right. I got to say something.
Okay.
Are you a yo-yo dieter?
I was.
Some people are yo-yo dieters. Make sure I get this right. You diet, lose weight, but gain it all back, plus a few extra pounds. Then later you lose it and regain it again and again and again. It's dangerous. Studies show that it can increase your risk of a heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is the main reason doctors created Lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection, and you don't need a prescription for it. Science behind Lean is impressive. And this is from Brickhouse Nutrition, Field of Greens, stuff that we like. I'm not a yo-yo dieter, although I probably could be. Wendy's not a yo-yo dieter. So Wendy always says, if you try Lean, email her. Tell her if it's working, wendybellradio@gmail.com. But check them out. You hit the QR code, scan 20% off, or you can go to takelean.com, takelean.com, use promo code Wendy20 to get 20% off your first order. Thank you, Mary.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just refreshing here. Boy, I got to tell you, for a Friday, there's not a lot of breaking news.
No.
Gotta say.
Well, you know this, the news cycle changes at noon.
Yeah,
and then the news that gives the 5 o'clock news chance to write the stories.
That's true.
To answer your text, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Not having alone time is tough. You and I.
Oh, it is.
You're always on.
Right. It is. But we
honestly,
talk about this stuff anyway. So we do, even Wendy and I do it on the air. So all right, here we go.
I think this art, and he did it to me again. Son of a gun. I'm Mary Walter, in for Wendy Bell on the Wendy Bell Show. How is everyone? If you're just joining us, happy Friday. There's so much to get to. Oh, so much to get to. And it is Friday, which I absolutely love. And we do have some things to talk about a little bit later that aren't necessarily, but there's just so much news. Ugh, but I equate the news cycle under Trump, at least in the very beginning, at least for the first couple of months, it's been like a chocolate fountain at a wedding, right? And it's just a fountain of goodness because everything he does, I'm like, yes. And I love watching people at X going, did you vote for this? Is this what you voted for? And I'm like, why, yes. Yes, it is. That's exactly what I voted for. Thank you very much. Yes, I did vote for this. One of the things that I voted for was Democrats falling apart, and Trump broke their brains. And we'll talk a little bit more about this on the other side of the bottom of the hour. But I love that Trump broke their brains. Now they had Trump derangement syndrome not that long ago, right? They had it during Trump one, and then they all came back, and they kind of regained their senses during the Biden administration. But Trump was always still in the background. He was living rent free in their head. So we've got this whole thing coming up with a continuing resolution, right? This CR. Now, Rand Paul is voting no, and one of the things I love about Trump is Trump has seemed to be able to get everybody on the same page. And Mike Johnson and John Thune have been able to, it looks like, get everybody on the same page, which I have to give them a lot of credit for, because John Thune, kind of a never Trumper. So I didn't see that coming. And Mike Johnson, when they first elected him, I was like, who the hell is Mike Johnson? Like, who is he? I've never heard of this guy. So I was a little surprised that they have been as good as herding the cats as they have been, because that's never been the Republicans' forte. That's really Nancy Pelosi. Listen, I don't like Nancy Pelosi and what she stands for, but I admire her ability as a politician. She was incredible and I say was because she's really not doing anything more. She was just at the State of the Union. She's really declined, and I'm sad that it's happening because nobody wants to. I don't like to take pleasure in someone else's, because we're all going to be there, aging. We're all going to be there, unfortunately. But she was just there like chewing her cud. I don't know what was going on, but she was moving her mouth and chewing her cud or fixing her dentures or whatever. The woman's gazillionaire. She can't afford implants. I don't understand it, or dentures that fit. But no matter what you say about Nancy Pelosi, you have to give her credit for doing what she did with the Democrats. She was able to get everyone on the same page and get them to go along to get along. And to me, that's a double-edged sword. I like that the Republicans represent their voters, right? And that's what John Fetterman always says. He says, I don't represent just Democrats. I also represent Republicans in my district. And so I'm going to vote no on this, or I'm going to vote yes on this, or whatever it happens to be. I don't trust him. I don't trust John Fetterman at all. Sorry. I think there's something going on there. And I think he's, a liberal in moderate clothing. But she was able to get them on the same page. Trump seems to be able to do the same thing now. He couldn't do it in the first term because there were so many never Trumpers, looking at you, Mitch McConnell, on the GOP side. This time around, though, I think they've realized, wow, he won the popular vote. This is what the people want. So we have to, we got to get on board. So they're kind of doing that, except for people like Thomas Massey, Rand Paul. I like both of them. But here's the thing. So Rand Paul says he's not going to vote for this CR. Now, the Republicans need all the Republicans and a couple of Democrats to come over and vote for it in order to get it passed. So it's probably not going to happen. And we'll go into it a little bit more, as I said, on the other side of the bottom of the hour, other side of the breaks. But I have really mixed feelings about Massey and Rand Paul. Like I said, I like them. I like for what they stand for. They're conservative, but they're common sense. And I have been waiting for common sense. That's what Trump keeps talking about. Common sense, common sense, common sense. But sometimes you have to go vote for something you don't really like in order to get the bigger thing, like the bigger thing. You have to compromise on something small in order to get something big, right? And if the president, who the people voted for, want this, yes, the people voted for you too, but I think that sometimes I would like to see Thomas Massey and Rand Paul sometimes just sit down and say, okay, I don't really love this, but I can vote for it because it's the right thing to do. All right, so more on the continuing resolution and Doge coming up on the Wendy Bell Show. I missed you.
I like them both too, but I agree
They drive
with
you
you.
crazy. Yeah.
At some point, like, you're not going to get everything you want. I think as conservatives, we all want government spending to stop, and
Right.
I kind of look at it this way too. And I'm, a lot of you guys watching and listening probably feel the same way. Is what are your options right now? Something you don't 100% agree with, or Democrats? 100% of what you disagree with, So it's well, you take a drink. I'm going to tell you about Kelly Morgan, and Darius always says no more back boob.
No more what?
Back boob. She morgainsfitness.com. Morgainsfitness.com.
Who's got back boob?
There's plenty of people out there with back boob.
They
need to work out. Yeah. So
yes.
She does this thing called 90-Day Ignite. So even if you're in her area, go check out her gyms. She's great. She's into bodybuilding now. Like, the lady has like negative body fat. I don't know how it's possible, but the stuff she's doing online with people and helping them, I'm going to show you what Wendy always shows you. In 90 days, look at this lady. That's incredible.
Who is that?
That's one of Kelly's
clients
who just, people are losing fat and gaining muscle and getting tone. So check them out, morgainsfitness.com, morgainsfitness.com. Check out our 90-Day Ignite program, body composition and all that kind of happy stuff. She's begging Wendy and I to come out. I don't think I want to know my body composition, but, we'll see. morgainsfitness.com.
Yeah, I did something like that once. I did the whole, the body composition, and wow, it's sad.
Yeah. I don't need, listen, I have a mirror. I don't need anyone telling me you have a little extra padding. Like, really? That's.
Yeah, I don't.
You know what? I could do another one, and then we can pretty much. Then we have one more. Let me tell you about Sniper, the hospital grade disinfectant. This stuff is fantastic. My friend brought it in for you guys. Disinfectwithsniper.com. Spray it, leave it, kills germs, parvo, COVID up to 30 days. And I use it all the time. I know Wendy does too. There's another product. It's an odor eliminator called Knockout. Works in my cigar room, which even my wife walks in, she's like, I can't smell it, which is worth its weight in gold. And now they have Harmony. It's an organic insecticide control, and it works. I sprayed it in the kitchen where I had ants coming in 2 years ago. It's like the ants went back and said, oh, don't go there. You ain't coming back. But I'm going to tell you, don't buy it yet. I'm going to say it because he's not watching. He was dumb enough to tell me that he's going to do a 20% off sale for Harmony on March 20th. So wait, it is worth every single penny. You don't have to spray a lot of it, but it kills all the bugs. Kills them from the inside out, which is pretty cool. But check them out, disinfectwithsniper.com, disinfectwithsniper.com. He just emailed me the other day too, talking about one for your plants. Disinfectant to kill what's on the on your plants. He's like, what do you think about me bringing this in for Disinfect with Sniper? Because my whole plan with him was say, hey, just get our people like the holistic stuff, that no chemicals.
Right.
So he's now looking around for stuff for you guys to put it on disinfectwithsniper.com.
I like the idea of the plant stuff.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because I have cats, and one of my cats eats my plants. So if
Is that the same cat that licks his butt?
No, it's a different
Okay.
cat. And he I have to keep all my plants locked up in a room somewhere because he will dig them and roll in the dirt. And I came downstairs one time and I had this big thing, this big plant, and there was dirt everywhere and he was covered head to toe and the plant was out and he looked so happy. He was so pleased. Like, look what I did. Look.
Oh yeah.
I killed it.
Yeah, that's what my dog does. You know, you go outside, he's digging, you're like, really? Really?
All right.
What
so
cuts are we
let's
doing?
7, 8, and 11.
7 is
Schumer.
calling them.
AOC is Tapper and cut 11 Schumer. We'll go with to cut 11 first.
Cut 11 first.
Because that's the one I forgot.
Okay, that's the longer one.
Yeah, I forgot to put it on the cut sheet, so I don't know.
It's what he said yesterday.
Yes, yeah. You can't get good help these days. Sorry.
No.
You could have cut that up. You could have cut that in half. I would have been fine.
No, I think it needs to be heard. Like he's
yeah, I trust you. I trust you. So for everyone who's complaining about me on Rumble and saying that I'm not as interesting as Wendy, that's fine, but I blame Brock. It's tough doing someone else's show, kids. It just really is. I'm Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell. How are you? Happy Friday. Wendy is back with you on Monday, so fear not. Wendy is coming back, and I know you miss her. And that just means that she's loved and has a great audience. So good for her. I'm happy for her because she's a really nice person. I really like her. How do you not like her? You know, it's one of those things. Don't forget, you can catch me on X at Mary Walter Radio. There's no S. It's just one word, Mary Walter Radio. Also, the podcast is live on Tuesdays, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Getter. It's a live cast, so you can leave comments and ask questions. And then the audio is available afterwards on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Getter as well. Again, just look for Mary Walter Radio. So let's go to the Democrats, shall we? One of the things I love about Trump 47 is that he has really gamed everything out. And that's what I love. So yesterday, we're going to go to cut 11 here. It's a little bit long, but Brock decided, and I gave him full, freedom with the audio. If you want to cut it, that's fine. Yesterday, so they've got this continuing resolution coming up that we were just talking about with Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, and every now and then I just wish they would just vote for it or not vote for it, whatever it happens to be, just get with the party every now and then. Not all the time. You don't have to compromise your values, but sometimes you just have to do the right thing to get the ball across the line, and then we'll deal with the rest of it later. So they're in a box. And Trump was very brilliant in the way that he did this. And according to Politico and sources at Politico, one White House official told Politico, Democrats, they're 100% going to swallow it. They're totally screwed that Trump has them in a box. Because since Reagan, every time there's been a shutdown, it's always been the Republicans who've shut the government down. They voted no. They've not voted on something, and for good. Listen, a lot of times for good reason. But the Democrats have always maneuvered it, said it was the Republicans left holding the ball. This time, it's the Democrats left holding the ball, and the Democrats don't know what to do because they haven't been in this situation in a really long time. Now, Politico says, though, in some ways, the White House's posture smacks of overconfidence, bordering on arrogance. And they say during most face-offs like this, when an administration needs the votes of the opposition party for must-pass legislation, there's typically some sort of outreach, even by the president, but not with Trump. Trump has not reached out to the Democrats at all. And they say it's because he believes he can win this fight either way. Because if the Democrats don't vote for it, they're going to take the blame, right? And if they vote for it, well, then it's a Trump win. So either way, Democrats don't win. And I absolutely love this about Trump. I just love that he's put them in this position. This is the art of the deal, people, right here. I absolutely love this. So yesterday, apparently there was a meeting, not even apparently, there was a meeting at, they had a luncheon meeting, the Democrats. And Aishna Hazy tweeted out that you could hear Kirsten Gillibrand screaming through the really thick closed doors of the room in which the Democrats were meeting during a private lunch yesterday. Gillibrand's office would not confirm that she was the person screaming when Fox News reached out to her. She wouldn't neither confirm nor deny the allegation. And they were clearly told not to talk about it, because they would all say no comment, no comment, no comment. They would not speak about anything that happened in that room. So Fetterman says, I've seen the videos that they're going to shut it down. And he said, I don't know if they'll do that or not. He said, no, any party should never shut the government down. He said it would be a gift for the Republicans to block the House passed continuing resolution. He said, in fact, if anything, I think they're effectively daring us to do that. But all the Democrats are not on the same page. So after the luncheon, Chuck Schumer last evening comes out and says the following.
Sycophants and MAGA radicals who want to burn everything to the ground. Look no further than what DOGE is doing. Now Republicans' nihilism has brought us to the brink of disaster. Unless Congress acts, the federal government will shut down tomorrow at midnight. I have said many times there are no winners in a government shutdown, but there are certainly victims, the most vulnerable Americans who rely on federal programs to feed their families, to access medical care, and to stay financially afloat. Communities that depend on government services to function will suffer, and suffer greatly. This week, Democrats offered a sensible way out. Fund the government for another month to give appropriators more time to do their jobs. Republicans rejected this proposal outright. Why did they reject it? Because Donald Trump doesn't want the appropriators to do their job. He wants full control over government spending. He isn't the first president who wants this, but he's the first president to cower his party into submission, so that Republican rejection leads us to a decision. That Republican rejection leads us to a decision. And it's not really a decision, it's a Hobson's choice. Either proceed with the bill before us, or risk Donald Trump throwing America into the chaos of a shutdown. This, in my view, is no choice at all. While the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is not a clean CR. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address far too many of this country's needs. But I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option. And before I explain why, let me be clear about one thing. No one on my side of the aisle wants a government shutdown. Members who support this CR do not want a government shutdown. Members who oppose this CR do not want a government shutdown. Members who oppose this CR want the Republicans to take their responsibilities more seriously and to negotiate spending bills that will address the many needs of the American people. I respect them for that. Unfortunately, though, this Republican Party is the party of Trump. As bad as passing the CR is, as I said, allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
You're muted. You're muted. Unmute.
I was muted there, but I blame Brock. I blame you because I did not mute myself. It muted with the video. So, and it unmuted every single time. It did not unmute this time. All right. What I was saying is I don't mind a government shutdown. I don't have a problem with it because the essential services are still paid. The military still gets paid. Social security checks still go out. So essential services, those basics still go on. Museums are closed. Okay, so there goes your class trip. I get it. But how long is it going to go on for? A week, 2 weeks, tops? Because once the American people start screaming about it, it's going to stop. And they'll come to some kind of compromise. And so I don't know. I think sometimes a government shutdown is good in that sense. And the people who work for the government, the poor government workers, and listen, I believe there's some really good government workers. I think there's some non-good government workers, but I think there's some really good government workers out there. They'll still get paid. They're getting a paid vacation, basically. They don't get a check for the pay period right away. If that's a week that you're supposed to get paid, I don't think the check goes out. But if you're a government worker and you're living paycheck to paycheck, I kind of find that hard to believe because they get paid fairly well. So I don't know. Sometimes I think a paycheck is good. I love that Chuck Schumer doesn't like the bill because he said it's partisan. I'm like, seriously, have you seen the bills you people pass? It's partisan, so therefore it's bad. He also said that it's not a clean CR. Again, have you seen the bills that you guys have put up? I just love to see them in this position. They just don't know what to do. And I love it. I am so here for it. If I make popcorn and pop open a beer every time Donald Trump does something to the Democrats and turns the tables on them, I'm going to weigh 400 pounds. I can't. It's I don't know. I just absolutely love this. Now, Democrats are not happy. Susan Rice, which by the way, Susan Rice, I think she was very instrumental in the Biden administration. And we know that a lot of Biden's executive orders, these EOs, were auto-signed on the same day. Some of them were auto-signed. Some of the pardons were auto-signed in D.C. And Biden wasn't in D.C. when they were auto-signed. Somebody was running the country when, President Pudding Pants was just like a sack of potatoes. And we have to find out who that was. But I think Susan Rice's hand was very heavily in that. And so was Valerie Jarrett's, as well as Barack Obama's. They got the band back together, right? She tweeted out and said, WTF, Senator Schumer, please grow a spine and quickly. It's like they've never heard of a government shutdown before. Oh, no. Bonnie Watson Coleman, out of New Jersey. Yay, she's ours. She wrote on X, respectfully, Senator Schumer, no. This Republican bill is bad for workers, bad for our veterans, bad for our seniors. Republicans should pull it and let us get back to work crafting a budget that works for all of our families. Jasmine Crockett. She's a national treasure, that one. She said, it is clear that some of us understand the present danger and some don't. I stand by the no vote on the blank check for Trump and Elon. I got no explanation nor agreement with Senate Dems being complicit in Trump's tyranny. The hatred for Elon Musk tickles me. He's offering unpaid to say, I'm just going to do an audit on the federal government. And let's find out, if people are getting Social Security checks or debt. Let's find out who's cash. I'm just going to give you the information. He's not, and everyone's all in an uproar. Elon Musk is going to steal your Social Security. Really? As he said, I'm a billionaire. Wow, I can finally buy something nice if I get someone's Social Security money. Stop it. This should have been done a long, long time ago. And you know what? Democrats were in favor of it. And we'll go into that coming up. But I want to go into, after Schumer made that little announcement, he had a lot more to say. And I've got that for you. And also AOC surfaces. She's been quiet lately. She's been letting Jasmine Crockett, do the crazy wing of the party stuff. And she also was on with Jake Tapper last night. And she is not happy about this at all. And we all want to know what AOC has to say. So I've got it for you coming up here on the Wendy Bell Show.
I don't know why that didn't come off mute.
Yeah,
I did not mute you, and I could not unmute you.
That's so
which
weird.
was the problem. Yeah, I've never had that problem before.
Yeah,
but,
it's always automatically mutes and automatically comes off because I had to sneeze during one of the during Chuck Schumer's audio, and I looked to make sure it was muted, and I saw that it was muted, so I sneezed. So I'll be sure to check it now when I come back.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the length. I don't think it is because Wendy's played stuff longer than that, and it's never done that before. Because I immediately thought, did I mute her? And when I went to hit mute, it said you muted yourself, and I couldn't unmute you. And I'm like,
but I haven't had. Yeah, it's weird because I haven't had to mute myself, so that's kind of not, it's weird. So well, I'm sorry blaming you. I apologize then if it was not you.
No, I'm used to it.
I thought you were muting and unmuting me because a little thing comes up and says your mic has been muted. So I say, okay. Right. That's okay. I love you anyway.
I'm used to taking the heat. Wendy blames me for everything.
Does she?
Yes.
Well, that's because she loves you, and it makes you a better person. It's not criticism; it's critique.
Oh, so I got my third wife now. Here we go.
No, I never want to be your wife because if your butt is getting up at 2:30 in the morning, oh hell no, we'd be sleeping in separate rooms.
She woke me up at 3 because I guess there was a solar eclipse last night, and I slept until 3, right? And she's watching it, so she's still up, and she comes in at 3. She goes, "Are you okay? You're still sleeping."
Well, when you texted me that at 4:20 something this morning, and the text
4:35.
Yeah, and that's when it started. And I said to you, the only, I think your wife woke you up because she wanted to make sure you weren't dead because it was 3 o'clock in the morning and not 2:30.
I think my body's just used to it. I can't sleep even on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm up at 4.
I did 2 morning shows. And both times I was like, oh, you'll get used to it. No, never. The first time I slept, I almost say at 7 days, I slept for 14 hours straight, like every day, just getting my sleep, making it back up. And then with the last show that I did was full-time, was a morning show as well. And we had to be in studio at 4 a.m. and we went on the air at 5. And I never got over it. And when I left that job, my husband said to me, he goes, no offense. He goes, but you're just so much nicer. He says, you're not bitchy anymore.
It's just getting used to the timing. Like I know I go to bed around 7:30.
Oh.
It's my normal, so it's.
You sleep like an infant then. And then you're up at 2:30 for feeding. So yeah, it makes kind of sense.
No, I'm up at midnight to pee and
see, so you sleep like an infant.
All right, I guess maybe I don't know.
You've come full circle.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. It's just my normal.
Our little bar in town is only open until 7. It's only open from 4 to 7. So, it would be perfect for you because you'd actually close the bar.
I'm ready to be old enough to get the blue light special, the senior dinner discount. Yeah.
I don't think those exist anymore. I don't think anybody does senior discounts anymore. Do they?
I don't know.
I kind of figure I'm not going to get that. I'm not going to get that, just like I'm not going to get Social Security. It's pretty much the way I'm looking at it.
My one chance. Great. Here we go.
All right, let's talk about Chuck Schumer and the shutdown. I promised you that that Chuck Schumer was not, even though he came out and said he was going to vote for it and he was urging Democrats to vote for it. Listen to what he had to say here. I think this is on MSNBC. Here's Chuck Schumer. Yeah, MSNBC is on with Chris Hayes right after he makes that announcement that, yes, we're going to vote for the CR and I want Democrats to vote for the CR. He is not happy about it at all. Watch this.
To have the conflict on the best ground we have summed up in a sentence that they're making the middle class pay for tax cuts for billionaires, it's much, much better not to be in the middle of a shutdown, which to divert people from the number one issue we have against these bastards, these people, which is not only all these cuts, but they're ruining democracy.
Okay, 2 things. I guess it's better than calling us garbage. He called us bastards. This is what they really think. They hate us so much. And I don't hate them. I don't hate liberals. I have friends who are liberal. I just don't talk politics with them. I don't hate them. I mean, I don't know. Like to me, politics is not an emotional sport at all. It's fact-based to me, and it's knowledge-based, and how you view the world, I think filters in how you take in those facts, etc. But he called us bastards. Oh, sorry. That wasn't a mistake. He did that on purpose. That was purposeful. Don't for one hot second believe that that was a mistake, because it's not. But again, he's railing against billionaires. The Democrats have very quietly gone from railing against millionaires and billionaires to just billionaires. And the reason for that is, in my humble opinion, because most of our politicians are millionaires, and they got to be millionaires on our money. How did that happen? They don't want anybody to ask how that happened. And more people are asking how that happened. So then when they talk about millionaires, someone is inevitably going to say, well, you're a millionaire. How did you become a millionaire? And then they get called out. So they get tired of being called out. So now they just say billionaires. It's a very nuanced sleight of hand that they did. And Democrats are phenomenal at messaging. They're very, very good at it. And they did a really great job with this. Let's quickly go. Let's wrap this up. Let's go to cut 8. This is AOC with Jake Tapper. Hit it.
Chuck Schumer, I guess the Senate Democratic leader, your senator, said at this meeting that he is going to vote for cloture. He is going to vote to allow there to be a simple majority vote. You think that's wrong?
I believe that's a tremendous mistake. Yes.
Why?
I think, well, first and foremost, the American people, if anyone has held a town hall or has seen what has been happening in town halls, American people, whether they are Republicans, independents, Democrats, are up in arms about Elon Musk and the actual gutting of federal agencies across the board. This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs that he's switching on and off. And on top of that, for folks who are concerned about effectiveness in government, this Republican extreme spending bill removes all of the guardrails and all of the accountability measures to ensure that money is being spent in the way that Congress has directed for it to be spent. This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It sacrifices congressional authority, and it is deeply partisan. And so to me, it is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
You have.
Oh my gosh, she's such an angel. We're so lucky to have her. She's protecting everything. I love that she said that we have seen, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, everyone is up in arms over Elon Musk and what he's doing. No. The only people who are up in arms over what Elon Musk is doing are the paid protesters who are going to Republican town halls and disrupting them so that they can't have the town hall. Democrats are very good at cosplay. Democrats are very good at creating an image that is not real. And now you start to see it more and more. And I got to tell you, I think it's because of Elon Musk buying Twitter. Because of that, you have free speech. You don't have free speech on Facebook. And Facebook to me has become useless. All I do is post my schedule on Facebook. I don't post pictures. I don't do anything anymore on there because it's just become useless. There's no free speech about anything other than, your grandson's first day of kindergarten. Woohoo. Okay, great. Those types of things. It's become the Super 8 movie of the 50s, of your latest vacation. You get to torture everybody else with it, or the pictures of your meal, that type of thing. But because Elon Musk bought Twitter and has allowed free speech and doesn't allow the government to impede speech, compelled speech, and say you can't have people post this, you can't do this, you can't do that. He's not allowing that anymore. That microphone has been taken away from Democrats, and that censorship has been taken away from them. And so now we see what they're doing, and they don't like it. I'm Mary Walter. You're watching The Wendy Bell Show.
All right, Mary, I need to go for a second.
Oh, I'm going to go too. Let's go together.
Can you go without me? Can you give me 2 minutes?
Oh, well, we can't both go at the same time?
Well, that'd be blank screen.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I supposed to?
I
No.
can
Go
wait.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go. No, go. It's fine. I can wait. Don't
just
worry
need
about
to-
it. Am I supposed to
I-
dance while you're gone or sing or anything?
No, you can talk to people.
Okay. All right. Go. Off with you. Off.
You know what? No, I'm going to stay.
No, go.
You go.
No, you go. Go. Go.
Wow.
With you. Go.
It's like I'm at home and at work with Wendy.
You keep this up, we're just going to argue right through the entire break. Just go. You got 5 minutes. Hoof it.
I'm going to need 2.
Go.
Okay, I got to hit a button
You're
first.
wasting 1 whole minute, and I'm going to wind up with 30 seconds. Go.
Wow.
Boy. Unbelievable. Anyway, so trying to do my best here. You know, it's so weird. The weird part of doing Wendy's show is because it's on video as well as, you know, it's on Newsmax 2 right now, and it's on Rumble and everything else. It's hard because there's no break. So when you're used to having those breaks, and you can sit and you can gather your thoughts about what you're going to do next, and you can, you know, plan out the next step, it doesn't exist. So it's so weird and it's different, and I have to wrap my head around that. And also, and more stations are doing this, and so I'm getting used to it. But in radio, you know, nobody sees you, right? So believe it or not, I did do makeup this morning. It's hard to tell, I get it. But it's a totally different medium. I have to keep in mind that, yes, I'm speaking with the audience, but you guys can't talk to me, which is different from radio. And I can't read the comments. It's really hard for me to do that. I can't even scroll and watch it go by because I get stuck watching.
Okay, I'm back.
And hold on, I'm in the middle of a sentence. And I was saying how it's so different doing this because there's no break, and also trying to remember that you're on camera at the same time as doing a radio show is really weird. It's hard to do both.
Well, I've said this many times. This is the new media.
It is. It truly is. I agree. So, all right. How much time do I have now? 30 seconds?
2 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh, all right. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, she's gone. I'll tell you about the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh. 412-906-9600, pittsburghdiscinstitute.com. I think everyone's watched someone go through life with back pain. I watched my father do it for years. I watched him go through surgery. Surgery didn't help it. I wish I'd have known about the Disc Institute because it's definitely something you check out before you go to have surgery, because surgery is not always the fix. So go to Dr. Rafferty, see if he can help you regrow and regenerate your discs and not have to go to surgery. Surgery should be the last thing you want to do. Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, 412-906-9600, pittsburghdiscinstitute.com. At least with Wendy, I get to run to the bathroom. So what are you guys talking about? No, you're not going to hit. Don't explain why there's no bumper music. So the way the system's set up is set up through a board. So I have to completely have workarounds that go into other things to be able to do this with Mary. It's different. Like when Sean would sit in there, it's just like when Wendy was here, because it would, all the sound would then run through their studio, but now everything has to run through my studio. So it's just different on how it's set up, because if I would run it through Wendy's studio, there'd be an echo the whole time. So I can't run my board and what goes through to you guys watching and be able to you be able to hear it. So that's just the difference between when Mary fills in or when we have someone in studio. It's just a completely different setup that I have to do to work around.
Are you telling everybody why you can't talk to me?
No, I'm telling everybody, well, that's one of the reasons too. So one of the reasons I don't like to talk to Mary during the show.
Besides the usual, you just don't like to talk to me.
No, I figure you just yell at me anyway during the break. So why double dip, you know? But I have to be on screen because I have to run everything. So you guys remember when Wendy leaves, I have to keep up her camera, right? That's so I can talk to you, right? So when Mary, once I take my camera off, you guys can still hear me talk to Wendy. If I take my camera off because I have to run everything through my computer now, you won't hear me. So like when Wendy leaves, or if I would take Wendy off camera, you wouldn't be able to hear me. So it's a completely different setup. I'm going to work with our engineer, Jason, and see if we can somehow run it differently to be able to do it. But it's just a completely different setup. And, you know, Wendy and I take so very few days off. I take none. That doesn't make sense to change everything.
No, it does. You should change everything.
First show here and there. You're right.
You should.
I'll tell you what. I'll change it and I'll reroute everything. But I'm calling you at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, you can, because I'll put my phone on airplane mode, so that's fine. Call all you want. Have you called my phone and gotten a message on it? I think you have you?
No.
It's Gorka.
Oh,
Seb Gorka recorded my message years ago. It's hilarious. I can never get rid of it.
He can tell you about Relief Factor. He does Relief Factor.
Not anymore.
No, he can't now. That's why Sean doesn't have a podcast anymore. So why he can't fill in. Parnell.
Oh.
Parnell used to fill in. So all right, here we go.
Oh, so that's why I got it. Yeah. Look at that. I didn't realize that's the reason why. Good to know.
1. Welcome to your daily dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
We are not going back, not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at you.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we're converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program. Filling in for Wendy is the host of the Mary Walter podcast. Welcome, fill-in radio queen, Mary Walter.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for the nice comments. I'm kind of like streaming through Rumble a little bit. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your patience and your understanding. Like Brock was saying, it's a different setup. So I can't do the same show that Wendy does. And I'll never be Wendy. I can't be Wendy. There's only one Wendy. All right. So we talk about Doge, and we talked about the Democrats screaming about having to agree to the CR, and we'll see what happens with that. But I thought this could be fun a little bit here. Oh God, there's so much to get to. There's just so much. It's crazy. Let me see, and I want to check for any new news. Hold on, let me just check to see if there's anything new. Nothing. All right, I don't see anything. Okay, nope, nothing there. So I want to talk about Doge just a little bit, because there are some cuts that are coming down the pike that people are announcing. Oh, I don't know what that was. All right. So, Senator Alan Simpson passed away at the age of 93. Okay. There's all these measles outbreaks too. Can I just say something about the measles outbreaks? So I got the measles vaccine as a kid, and I got the measles. So I must have gotten a bad vaccine, But I had both. So I kind of figure at this point in the game, I have like the best immunity you could possibly ever have for measles. And I didn't die. And I saw posted a lot on X. Everybody's posting this one episode of the Brady Bunch where apparently all the kids got the measles and nobody died. So it comes to some of these things. I'm like, it's kind of like chickenpox. We all got chickenpox as a kid too. Now everybody's got to be vaccinated against chickenpox. We all just got it. I'll never forget. I think it was either Greg or Donnie. The two. There was like this little group of us, all the same age that lived. It was Olga, me, Donnie, and Greg. We're all the same age, and we all lived like right next to each other in this little development. We were kids, and one of them got chickenpox. It was Donnie or Greg. One of the boys got chickenpox, and so our parents made us all get together so we all had chickenpox at the same time. So we would all be miserable at the same time. And that's what you did back in the day. They had chickenpox parties. My mother was like, oh, good. And like just shoved all of us, my siblings, we all had to go play together. And we all got chickenpox at the same time. We all got it over with. There was no vaccine. I sometimes think that like that natural immunity thing is probably better than the artificial chemical. Now, I'm not against vaccines. I'm just saying that, I got the vaccine and I got the measles. So sometimes with the vaccines. All right. So, okay. Coming to Doge. Let's go to Doge. So, left is kicking up a storm. So the post office has signed an agreement with Doge to cut 10,000 workers. Now, the post office is a losing business model. Nobody uses the mail anymore because the younger generation does not write. They don't know how to write thank you notes at all. They'll send you a text because you gave them a $500 check at a wedding and you get a text. Oh, thanks so much. Or you get a pre-printed card if they mail anything. It's a pre-printed card. Thank you so much for your generous gift or your thoughtful gift, whatever it happens to say. They don't sign it and they give you a picture of the two of them and they put it in an envelope that's been computer generated. And I'm sure they just send out somewhere and they do it all and send it out for them and they never touch it. So it's a broken business model, the post office. And by the way, if I earn the money and then take the time and I write you a check or I give you cash at a wedding and I get a text as a thank you, I got news for you. Future gifts? Nope. Not happening because in Jersey, we give cash. It's the thing we do. You give cash. And no, that's not happening again. So learn how to write a thank you note, people. Help the U.S. Postal Service out because 10,000 people are going to be losing their jobs. And it's a broken system. And of course, because it's run by, it's a government system. It's supposedly run by, does Congress run the postal system? They do have a Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy. And Doge, so they've signed an agreement with Doge to try to figure it out. They said they have to fix a heavily legislated and overly regulated organization as massive, important, cherished, misunderstood, and debated as the U.S. Postal Service with such a broken business model. It's even more difficult. Here's the thing, my problem with the post office. I send out gift cards to I have a couple of people that I send gift cards to around the holidays every year. And not this past Christmas, the year before. I sent them out as I normally do. And I sent them just in a big envelope, padded envelope. It was wrapped and it was inside. So you could not tell, you couldn't feel that there was a gift card in there or nothing along those lines. And I mailed it off. 2 of them made it. 2 of them disappeared, or 1 made it and 3 disappeared. Never got them, never ended up anywhere. And I did not mail them all on the same day. And I went into the post office and I said to the man there, and again, my town is 1.1 square miles and has 3,500 people, but we have a post office. Go figure. And so I went in and I said to him, hey, can you tell me what's in this envelope? He's like, no. Why? He's feeling. He goes, no, I don't know what's in here. I go, interesting, because my gift cards disappeared. 3 out of 4 gift cards disappeared. Now, how would that happen? They weren't mailed on the same day. He's like, oh, well, did you send them priority mail? I'm like, no, I sent them in that envelope right there. Did you track them? No. He goes, oh, well, you got to track them. If you send anything of value through the mail, it's got to be tracked. I said, why? I said, first of all, tracking is only going to tell me the point at which it disappeared. That's it. It's not going to tell me who disappeared it. It's not going to tell me anything more than that. He looked at me and said, you should know you never mail anything of value through the U.S. postal system. I was like, but don't you tell me that it's okay to mail my ballot in, that it's safe and secure to mail my ballot? And he just looked at me like, he gave me that look like, really? Really? So I said, okay. The guys told me. And my Christmas cards this year, one of them got sent back to me. And I called my friend and I said, hey, this is the address. Did you guys move? No, I didn't move. We didn't move. I sent him a picture of the card. He goes, that's literally our address. I'm like, well, the post office says they can't deliver it because that's not your address. He's like, no, that is our address. So the postal system needs to go. I think it needs to be cut. I think it needs to. They have unsustainable pensions. They gave these people crazy pensions, and now we got a big problem. And I don't know how they're going to fund it, but we'll try to figure it out. Johns Hopkins they're eliminating more than 2,200 workers because of loss of funding from USAID. They have programs overseas to help with prenatal care, with things like care for mothers and infants, providing clean drinking water, all that kind of stuff, and preventing these diseases in other countries. Now, while I'm sad to see those programs cut or those programs trimmed down, by the same token, that's something you only do if you have an extra. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't give money to other people that you don't have. We have people in this country who don't have health care. So why in God's name are we providing healthcare services for people in other countries? I'm sorry it sounds cold. But if we had extra money, that's a great extra. But it's not something that should automatically renew year after year after year. We don't have the money to keep renewing those projects year after year after year. You can't keep doing it. So, yeah, we're cutting more than 2,200 workers. Listen, like I said, my husband is on a medical mission in Ghana right now. But everything they went there with was it's private funds that were raised. The cargo container of medical supplies that they went with, it was privately raised. It's not tax dollars doing it. And we've forgotten that charity used to be private. It wasn't run by the government. Instead of giving the government your money to just lose along the way or give out untracked, I think you're much better off giving directly to a cause that you support, or a GoFundMe, or whatever it happens to be, with your money. So, and if you want to give to prevent, or provide good drinking water in another country, that's great. Donate to that. But we'll have so much more money in our pockets if the government isn't doing it. All right. I want to harken back to the cut two here, Brock. This is, they're all against Doge. They're all screaming about Doge. You heard AOC screaming about Doge. They're against Doge. Unelected bureaucrat Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is now the devil. And so we have to destroy him because Elon Musk, he's doing this for free. And he's just auditing. And we all know that, right? So I just want to go back not that long ago, a little bit of something of Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer talking about something that sounds just like Doge. Here they are.
Yes, you do have to cut some programs. I think there's waste out there. I think there are programs that can and should be cut.
Again, we all agree we have to get rid of waste, fraud, abuse, duplication, obsolescence, and the rest. The GAO has given us a blueprint for that, and we subscribe to that. We all agree that we must reduce the deficit.
There's tremendous waste in government, and I think any Democrat who ignores the lessons, the lessons of those who voted, the lessons of the last election, makes a mistake. The people did want government to cut out the waste and to shrink.
The people wanted the government to cut out the waste. That was 2011. And the Democrats somehow get away with the hypocrisy, or they all have always, up until this point, gotten away with the hypocrisy. I think with the advent of X, with the advent of social media, they're being held to account more and more. These things can come back and haunt them, just like now. Coming up, I've got Barack Obama and his initiation, sound like Nancy Pelosi, of a similar program. It is actually the foundation of Doge comes from Barack Obama. That's next on the Wendy Bell Show.
I hate them all.
That's
I hate them
hilarious.
all. They, I'm going to say this: majority conservatives are very philanthropic, from $5 to $5 million.
Yep, I agree.
And you give them money, they'll help. But stop. You let me decide where my money goes. Let me decide if I want to donate to something or not. And I feel that way about local government too. When they sit there and put these, we're going to taxes are going up so we can have parks and why? I don't use the park.
my nose.
No, what?
Oh, I thought you were asking why I went off camera. I'm like,
No.
Oh.
I'm saying to our government, why? Why do I have to give to parks that aren't in my neighborhood?
You know what, though? I will say that the national park system, like Yellowstone and Mount Rushmore and all that stuff. Okay. All right. You're talking about like a community park somewhere.
Yeah. Where they took down during COVID, they took down the basketball hoops and filled skate parks with sand. And
right.
I want to spend my money where I want to spend my money. If I think the parks are a good way to set, how about this? Clean up the trash in Pittsburgh. And then maybe we can talk about the parks.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's just common sense. Stop spending my money. And our Pittsburgh is a nightmare. Our government's a nightmare. It's all liberal, all Democrat run for years and years and years, generation.
Well, you get the government you vote for, right?
Exactly. They elect a socialist as a county executive. What did you expect was going to happen? So this is going to be my plea to people in Pittsburgh. Vote Republican. Corey O'Connor is not a change. He's not his father, who was very moderate and very middle of the road. He's as bad as Mayor Gainey and has already come out and said that Pittsburgh won't work with ICE. Get the county council. There's a woman out there, Erin Copper, running. Vote for her if she's in your district. Whomever it is, vote for. In my district, we have Summer Lee. Talk about wanting to yourself. Summer Lee is horrible. And she's in a Jewish community. And she somehow gets reelected.
Well, because, that community traditionally votes Democrat.
I don't know what else she needs to do, though, for those people to say, well, maybe.
Well, I will tell you, in New Jersey, we have a very, very large Hasidic population, and they are red. They belong to our range. So yeah, they vote they vote very red. So I think it depends. I think it's the more reformed Jews that vote Democrat over and over again. I have, I get into this conversation a lot of times with my friends who are Jewish. Like, what the hell? And they said, one of them told me it's all because Jews are self-loathing. Like, okay. I was a Jewish guy who told me that. He goes, I don't know. My Jewish friends who vote Democrat, they're just self-loathing.
I tell them all to bring me their ballot. So, all right, here we go.
No, you don't. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Show. So we're talking about people losing their jobs because of Doge, and left is all up in ours. But Brock and I were having some fun yesterday, and I thought I was going to be able to talk to him today so we could share his story, but we can't because of what's happening. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, Happy Pi Day. It's Pi Day. It's 314, 3.14, blah, 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 pi. Get it? Haha. Happy Pi Day. I live with a dork. That's why I know that it's Pi Day. But I've been fired from, if you work in the private sector, you get fired from jobs. I know people have never been fired, which is really weird to me. Working in radio, you get fired all the time. And when I first got out of college, I quit my first job, left and came home. And then I got into consulting, and I was doing computer consulting and HR and things like that. So you worked on a project until the project was done. And when the project was done, your contract was finished, and then you went on the beach, as they call it, and then you waited for another project to come through, and you got put onto another project. And my father was always like, "Why do you keep getting fired? Why can't you hold down a job?" And I was like, so I didn't get fired. Contract was up, and then I went into radio, and so you get fired all the time. But twice I have gotten fired from 2 different radio jobs, and they never give you a reason why. They just tell you they're going in another direction, which is a load of horse hockey. And they never tell you the reason why, because they don't want to get sued. And both times, 2 times that I've been fired, they had to send me a check for my ratings, because in your contract, most places, you get a bonus if you rank, you get so much if you rank number 1 in whatever the market happens to be. And it's this age group. It's all spelled out if you meet the parameters. And both times before they fired me, the ratings book that came out before they fired me, I had met the parameters for a bonus, and they wound up having to send me a check for my bonuses for my performance, which was so good I got a bonus. So I thought that was hilarious. And they lie. What bothers me most about being fired from a radio gig, from any gig, is when they lie to you and they don't put any effort into the lie. Like, it's insulting, right? If you're going to lie to me, could you at least put some effort into the lie? It's like when you get dumped and they're like, "Well, I'm just not feeling it." It's such a cop out. Like, could you please tell me the real reason why? Because I can learn from it in my next relationship. I can learn from this, but nobody ever has the guts to tell you why. And everybody says they want to know the truth, but then they love someone like Barack Obama, who does nothing but lie, and they hate Donald Trump, who tells the truth, right? So anyway, all right. Speaking of that, I want to get to that. And then I also want to get to something else with this Doge thing. And considering the audio that we just played, I want to come to this. I want to go to this is cut 3. This is Barack Obama, and talking about the program 2011 about cutting government waste, fraud, and abuse. Remember, he used to say that all the time. We're cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse. Again, 2011, not that long ago, Barack Obama was for exactly what Donald Trump is doing. Here he is in his own words.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of, even if we didn't have a deficit. Sure, some of these cuts aren't that big, but no amount of waste is acceptable. Not when it's your money. Not at a time when so many Americans are already cutting back. Just as families are living within their means, government should too. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble made up of forest rangers? They're called the Fiddlin' Foresters. I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website. And there are hundreds of similar sites that we should consolidate or just get rid of. By the way, you're not only paying for websites no one needs, you're paying for thousands of buildings all across the country no one uses. For the last decade, the government's owned a massive and completely empty warehouse in the middle of Brooklyn, for example. Now, the government hadn't been able to sell this building and others like it because of red tape and Washington politics that held things up for years. But we're finally cutting through all that and plan to get rid of these buildings in the months ahead. We need to step up our game. We need to go after every dime. We need to make government work for you. That's why, starting today, I've asked the Vice President to lead a renewed effort to hunt down misspent tax dollars in every agency and department of this government. We're calling it the Campaign to Cut Waste.
The Campaign to Cut Waste. So the Fiddlin' Foresters, by the way, still have a webpage, but now it's the Smithsonian that maintains that webpage, and they're under the umbrella of the Smithsonian. So, and I think the Smithsonian is funded. They probably get some government dollars, but I know they're mostly private, and they have an endowment. So they're private, they have an endowment, etc. But they're still there. The Fiddlin' Foresters are still there. They even appeared, I think, at the Kennedy Center, which is interesting. But so nothing really happened with that. You want to know why it didn't go anywhere? That program in 2011? Guess who was put in charge of the program? His vice president, Joe Biden. And shockingly, nothing happened. Shades of things to come. That money just kept flowing into politicians' pockets, I'm sure, whoever the middleman was. Yeah, so there you go. You got that. I'm Mary Walter. I'm in for Wendy Bell and the Wendy Bell Show.
Joe couldn't figure out how to get his 10%.
Exactly. Well, no, Joe could figure out how to get his 10%, which is why everything is still still up and running the way it is. I just love that that Hunter Biden's broke now. It just goes to show you that
before.
Right, but it just goes to show that if you gave every American $1 million in a year, the people who had no money before they had the $1 million would be broke again.
Right. I don't disagree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the way it's
Half
always
an
been.
hour.
Oh my gosh, this has flown. I have to tell you. It has flown.
Has it?
It has for me. Clearly not for you.
There's that's not fair to you. Like, there's so much more that I have to pay attention to when Wendy's not here.
I'm sorry.
You know. No.
Well,
Even when Sean was here, there's so many more things that I have to pay attention to. You
I
know?
think what I'm going to do next time is, like I said, I'm going to do this from upstairs in my radio studio. Like I said, this is my TV. I'm going to go upstairs to the radio studio, and I can use my big mic, my Shure mic, you know,
Okay.
and the headset. And I think it just might be easier all the way around. I have a big desk that I can keep all my papers on, so I'm not sitting here, you know, shuffling papers and everything like that. I have the two screens, so we'll see what happens.
2 screens. Wow.
Well, I have two screens. I have
one
two
for
screens.
center.
I have 2 screens now, but it's just a little bit easier of a setup to use upstairs because this is just for TV hits. So so there's that.
How many so when you do a TV hit, what are they? 3-4 minute segments? Except you do TV hits with Wendy on Common Sense.
Right. I was actually supposed to tape with her yesterday, but they canceled the taping yesterday. Yes. So
that's because she was on a plane.
Who filled in for her yesterday?
No one.
Okay, I feel better. I thought you were cheating on me.
No. Oh, you mean on the radio side? No one.
Yeah.
No one. To be honest, you filled in the first time for what, 3 days, 2 or 3 days, because Sean had to go away.
Right.
It's just so much easier having an in studio.
Oh yeah.
So
100%. Oh, listen. I understand that. I totally get that. It's so much easier.
But I did tell. I don't know if you talked to Wendy outside of here about this. I said I will work with you anytime. You're very easy to work with, except when you yell at me for calling it a little before most people were up. But you know.
Well, thank you.
I will say this: it's tough, like you say. You know, professional fill-in, and filling in is tough, and because it's out of everyone's norm, and people want what they want,
right?
You know, and I get it completely, but filling in is tough. How many times you listen to Rush and a fill-in would come on, and people are like, you know, so it's tough to be able to fill it, and you're learning different clocks. You're learning different ways that everyone does their show, because everyone does their shows differently.
Exactly.
This,
I'll tell you, be honest with you, it's somewhat a thankless job in the sense of, you know, that the audience is
not for people like me. I appreciate easy.
But the audience is going to complain because you're not Rush, Wendy, you're not this, you're not that, but they're not going to like, and on video it's hard, especially as a woman. What did you do to your hair? What's that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Did you put makeup on?
And this is a little different too. When Sean started with us, Sean had no radio experience, none. I had told Wendy I could work with him, you know, but I knew he could talk, you know. So the whole thing is getting used to, and especially for people that fill in for radio shows, is that you don't get a break, because during the commercial breaks, this is what we do.
Right.
And it's so different than what everyone else. You're seeing a lot of people do it now, and Dan Bongino's does some of his stuff, but he doesn't really talk in between. You hear and other radio stations, they know who they are, stole Wendy and I's idea, and they run their commercial breaks during
right.
And this is just so much different. But we learned early on, people were like, well, when we first started, only Wendy would talk and you would just hear me. And people said, why can't we see Brock when he's talking? So Wendy's like, put a camera on yourself. So this has been a growing experience for us, and it's seems to work. And everybody wants to see the behind. You all know when stuff goes sideways, you kind of it's like in a car accident. You kind of want to see it go sideways sometimes to see people fix it. So and you'll see me, and I'll be running back and forth. There was one time I was under Wendy's desk while she was talking because the radio could still hear, but we didn't have sound for video. So
it's funny because
it's crazy.
It's so opposite of how radio started out, where your PD would always tell you, no one cares about your personal life. Nobody cares what's going on in the studio. You just do your show. When everybody really does want to know about the host, they really do want to know what's going on. They want to see the behind the scenes stuff. And that was the mantra for, I don't know.
All right, I'm going to cut you off.
Fine.
Here we
Fine. All right, here we go. One more half hour. I'm Mary Walter in for Wendy Bell. Wendy will be back on Friday, so have no fear. Wendy is coming back on Monday. Did I say she's coming back on Friday? She's coming back on Monday. Today's Friday. She's back on Monday. I'm a little sleep deprived because if you don't know, Brock woke me up this morning at like 4:25 with a text. 3 texts, not one. In case the first one didn't wake me up, he made sure to send 2 more sporadically, not at the same time, in order to wake me up. You can find me on X at Mary Walter Radio. Please join my live cast on Tuesday evenings. It's live on YouTube and on Getter. Look for Mary Walter Radio. And I do it on those because you can leave comments and it's interactive, etc. I really, I was going to go on Rumble, but everybody's on, I don't know. Maybe I'll expand it. But anyway, but right now it's on YouTube and Getter, and you can leave comments and ask questions. And then the audio is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker. Again, just look for Mary Walter Radio. And later today, I will be on Newsmax 2 at 4:15 Eastern Time. Mondays, I am on the Chris Salcedo Show on N1 Newsmax with Mike Reagan on the Chris Salcedo Show, again, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, talking about these firings and Doge and everything, and I've been fired. One time, another firing I got when I was running an HR department for a consulting company, and it was a small little consulting company. There was 2 principal owners, that not married, and she was the principal owner because of 51% female-owned business. You get tax. There's some benefit to that. So I'm running the HR department, and he was a National Guard guy. So he had his National Guard thing for a week or whatever. So he goes off on his National Guard thing, and she leaves me in charge, and she went to go do something. She went on vacation somewhere and left me in charge of the whole thing. So I was like, okay, fine, I can do this. And I get a call from the police department telling me, for the guy, let's call him Tony. So, hey, Tony Jones, with the police were at his condo. I'm like, you're at his condo? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, he's with the National Guard. The door was the alarm went off at his condo or something like that. And I said, well, he's with the National Guard. I can't get a hold of him, etc. So I call the number that I have for him, his home number, because you had cell phone and home. And back in the day, people actually had home phone numbers. And I called the home phone number. And I talked to his wife and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, the cops called me and said that the alarm is going off in your condo. She's like, condo? I'm like, yeah, your condo. She's like, we don't have a condo. I'm like, oh. So long story short, the 2 of them, he did not go off on the way in the National Guard, and she did not go on vacation. They went on vacation together. And the wife found out about it because I called, because his condo, the alarm went off in his condo that she knew nothing about. They fired me. I got fired. After that, I got fired because I accidentally stumbled into their illicit affair. And I'm the one who tipped the wife off. I didn't know I was tipping the wife off. I had no idea. I thought I was doing God's work. I thought I was doing the right thing. Nope. So I got fired. But anyway, Judge Tanya Chutkan, that name should sound familiar because she was assigned to handle the January 6th case against former President Trump. So she's not a fan of Trump at all. Breitbart News reported that Chutkan has been known to give harsher sentences than her peers on the federal bench to January 6 defendants. She refused to recuse herself in the case against Trump, despite making several controversial statements about Trump. Clearly, she's biased. Well, she has now given an order. She ordered that Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, have to reveal their plans. How are they going to downsize the government? And she wants the identities, the names of every single member of DOGE. She claims that Musk is unconstitutionally wielding power. She gave Musk and DOGE 3 weeks to produce the information, which is going to help her decide if she should block DOGE's operations. Here's the problem. It's not up to her to block DOGE's operations. This is something that was formed by the president. So you've got a lot of these judges that are constantly stopping Trump at every step of the way. You have a judge order that Trump reinstate probationary workers that were fired at the Department of Defense, Agriculture, Energy, Interior, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs. Probationary workers are on probation for several years, and they know they can get fired at any time. But the judge said, well, you didn't give a good enough reason. They said one Forest Service worker who was fired was told at the time of her firing that she was let go based on performance when she actually had a good performance record. Welcome to my world, sweetheart. I got a bonus for my ratings. My show did so well. They had to pay me more money as a bonus, and they had to mail it to my house because they fired me. Welcome to the real world. So I want to quickly play this for you. I want to go to cut forward. This is Harriet Hageman out of Wyoming. This was last week, and she was in a meeting. Darrell Issa was running this meeting. I don't know the panel that this was on, and I apologize for not knowing that. I should, but I don't. But they were talking about a bill and an amendment to a bill, and it has to do with judges and the rulings on some of this stuff that's coming out of the Trump administration. And of course, Democrats are suing him at every turn. So this is Harriet Hageman and Darrell Issa, and I give Darrell Issa a lot of credit here. He's asking some really good questions and really does seem to be interested in the answers. Super interesting. Here you go.
Thank you. Article 2 of the Constitution states that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. In other words, it is the president that defines the executive branch. When you read this language, it says that no court may take over that role. No court may define or limit the scope of the duties of an official of the executive office of the president, the people who work in the executive office. I think that what your amendment does is a violation of separation of powers, and it's a violation of Article 2 of the Constitution.
Well, Gentlelady, yield?
Yes, I will.
It's always good when the constitutionalist specialist comes in. It helps us all. So what you're saying is that the bill codifies Article 2 for purposes of the court being reminded and instructed of their limitations, and the amendment would undo that.
That's exactly right, because then it would imply that a federal court could in fact define or limit the scope of the duties of those individuals who work within the executive office of the president, and that is not a federal court's role. That is for, under Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, that power is vested in a president of the United States of America.
Could the gentlelady further yield for another question?
Yes.
Your understanding is, with the current president, or the last one, or the next one, if we don't do something like this, realistically, the chief executive, president, would continue to have to answer a myriad of claims in up to not just 50 states, but multiple places in 50 states. And if that tactic was used, even more so than it may have been used in the past, that you would have a president having to use non-official funds to answer a series of cases alleged not to be that way. Is that true?
That's the way that I read this, and I think that it's very clear, especially starting in 2017 when President Trump was sworn in the first time, that the courts have been used for nefarious purposes on a variety of issues. In fact, yesterday we had a hearing in our constitutional subcommittee about lawfare and how lawfare had been weaponized against President Trump, both while he was president as well as after his presidency. So again, I guess that I'm very skeptical of the idea that people are not willing to use lawfare to go after a current or former president. We've seen it over the last 9 years in many different instances. But the president is the one who gets to define the limit and scope of the duties of the personnel within his office. That is very clear from Article 2 of the Constitution.
So good for Daryl Issa, I think, for asking good questions there, because I thought it was super informative, and good for Harriet Hageman. I really like her, really like her. She's smart, and she puts it all in language that we can, the rest of us can understand, because I am not a constitutional scholar, but I love that. Apparently, that if a judge, federal judges whose tenure is protected under Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution, during something that was called during good behavior, if they engage in misconduct or overstep their authority, such as acting as activists trying to govern the executive branch, the power to hold them accountable and remove them lies primarily with Congress through the impeachment process. So we have to hope that Congress would actually do something and get it together and work to impeach these judges. And I think, unfortunately, the Democrats are not going to be on board with that, because if you look at their federal judges, and you just keep seeing one after the next, who has a wife, has a son, has a brother-in-law, who are working for or appointed to positions by Chuck Schumer. There's one judge that I was reading about who's put a stay on Trump for something, one of the things he wants to do. The guy's wife was appointed by Chuck Schumer to a position. She's already making like $650,000 doing something with USAID, and then Schumer appointed her to a position. She's making money there. The son was a law clerk for Alvin Bragg, and also was a what do they call him? Not an intern, I guess, with Chuck Schumer. And then his brother-in-law is also doing something. So they're all really tied. They're all together. They're all sleeping. Like, look at Judge Merchan and his daughter. What does his daughter do? Well, she fundraises for Democrats. So what did she fundraise off of? Her father's case, the case that her father was hearing and would not recuse himself, and kept going and going and going in the courts. And she helped Democrats raise millions, and she in turn raised millions from that. So the cesspool and the incestuousness of it all is so deeply entrenched on the liberal side. And unless Republicans get in the game, which I don't like that. I don't think that that Republicans should get in the game. I prefer to see it cleaned up. But the only way it's going to get cleaned up is if Congress starts to impeach some of these judges. And that's a long process to do that. You're never going to get them all. And that's something that Biden did at the end of his presidency, after Kamala Harris had lost. He pushed through tons of judges to get them on the benches. They're activist judges, they're leftist judges, and they know now that that's how they can control the government, is with the lawfare, like Harriet Hageman was talking about there, the lawfare, and stopping any kind of Republican process at that level, because then you have to appeal to the appeals court, and that's going to be that, and then it's got to go to the Supreme Court. If they can take the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter if they own Congress, if they have the houses or the presidency, because they can essentially just cripple the government through lawfare, and by keeping the president, just as Harriet Hageman said, going and having to pay to go from one court to the next, to the next, to the next, and continually paying. And it's a very slow slog to get to the Supreme Court. And if they own the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter. So that will be the unelected people running the government at that point. They're very smart. Democrats play the long game. All right, wrapping it up. I have some fun with Seb Gorka coming up on the Wendy Bell Show.
10 minutes.
Well, I just have to touch up my makeup. I have to put a little bit more on because clearly it doesn't look like I have anything on. And
It's all right. Wendy does it every day.
Oh, right. Well, she's gorgeous and like 10 years younger than me, so I don't want to hear it.
He's 10 years younger than you?
Probably. I don't know. She
Oh.
just looks it to me.
Are we allowed to ask you your age?
I'm telling you, you wake me up early and then you're going to
Okay,
you start the
let me
show by
say this.
waking me up at 4:25 and then you're going to end it by asking me how old I am.
Wendy will be 55.
Good for her.
Did we all notice that she didn't say she was not 10 years older than Wendy?
I'm not saying a word.
What is it with women?
Because women get old. You know what it is?
I would say you and Wendy are the same age. If I had to guess.
Men get distinguished and women get old, especially in media. If you look on any news channel, the women are made up. They're gorgeous. They're in their 30s, maybe 40s. The dudes can have eye bags the size of Samsonites and balding, and the face is a disaster and everything else. Nobody's had a chemical peel. None of them have done anything, and it's perfectly fine. If you put a woman on the air who looked like half the men on the air, please, never happened. The old saying, women get old, men get distinguished.
Yeah, that's my salt and pepper look.
Exactly. You get salt and pepper, we go gray. Which, by the way, I have to say, in the interest of full disclosure, I got my mother's side of the family's hair. My dad's side is blonde, white blonde hair, blue eyes, white blonde hair. I got my mother's coloring a little bit more. My mother's side of the family doesn't go gray.
Well, there you go.
That's the one thing I got from that. They for whatever reason, they don't go gray. There's something genetically going on. I got a little bit like right here. Both my brother and I have just a little tiny bit like right here. That's it.
So,
and it's always in the front. It's never in the back. It's just right here. A little bit right there.
I am not. I'm taking heat for asking you your age. I don't.
Good, you should.
If you said you were 50, I'd be like, really? I don't think you look whatever you are, right? Unless you're 49, and then I'd be like,
I'm actually 45, but sure.
oh, okay. Well then.
I cannot keep up with this chat, so I don't even know where you are. I have no clue.
Well, if you're not taking a shot at me, and Wendy's not taking a shot at me, someone on the stream's taking a shot at me. So I'm used to it.
It's because
made of Kevlar. I get it.
We love you.
I told Wendy from the start, my job is to take your bullets. If someone calls and hates you, I'll hang up on them. Then they can hate me. So,
well, I'm a Jersey girl who grew up with all brothers. I can handle it.
I don't know. Like, if people are like, you go to war asking a woman or a really, like,
you know why? Because when you tell someone, like, what if I told you I'm 10 years older than Wendy? I'm 65 years old. All right, I'm 65 years old.
I'd be like, you don't look like it.
People see you differently. I think they go, oh yeah, look at it. Like I don't know. That's just me, and maybe it's because, again, as a woman, you view the whole thing differently because you're so reminded of it, and you're always in competition. Women are, men aren't. Men have no expiration date. Women do.
We all have expiration dates.
Okay, when you're dead, you're expired.
Yeah,
Men are. But women don't really. Okay, when you're Joe Biden, there were still women who are like, he looks so hot with the.
No one said that.
Yeah,
but please,
like
no
really.
All right, here we go. Pet show tomorrow.
Pet show tomorrow. All right, wrapping it up here on the Wendy Bell Show. Don't forget, pet show tomorrow. All right, I'm Mary Walter in for Wendy. Wendy is back with you on Monday, so fear not. You will not have to put up with me for another day. All right, I will not be here. So there you go. Monday, I will be on the Chris Salcedo Show on Newsmax between 4 and 5 o'clock. I thought this would be fun to share this with you. I just love this. This is cut 5. And by the way, Brock didn't think I would use all my cuts, and I did. I thought this was fun. This is Seb Gorka, who I adore. Our birthdays are close to each other, and we would go out when I was living in DC. We would go out on a week for German food because he's Hungarian and my family's German, and so we would all, the group of us would go out for to celebrate our birthdays at this German restaurant in Georgetown. And he's so big and imposing, and then you hear his voice, you're like, oh my gosh, don't kill me. He's so funny, but he knows how imposing he is. How does he not know how imposing he is? And so here he is with Jake Tapper. And this is quick. It's less than a minute, but listen to how Seb Gorka handled Jake Tapper. This is going to make your day.
So last month, the Washington Post reported that the freeze on U.S. foreign assistance in Africa has, quote, threatened programs intended to counter al-Shabaab bomb makers, contain the spread of al-Qaeda across West Africa, and secure Islamic State prisoners in the Middle East, according to U.S. officials and aid workers, unquote. Are those cuts still in place? Are you concerned about them at all?
Is that the same Washington Post that propagated the Russia-Russia collusion hoax for the last 8 years?
Well, regardless of the Russia...
No, not regardless. You're quoting the Washington Post to me, which is as effective as posting for me or quoting to me any other pillar of the fake news industrial complex. I really couldn't care less what the Washington Post or the New York Times says, especially when it's anonymous government officials. If it's true, put your name to it. If it's not, shut up.
I loved that. Is this the same New York Post? This is what I love. Oh, sorry, I almost ripped my things out again. I keep hitting the microphone part of this. We're going to do this next time from my radio studio upstairs. But I love that everyone, Marco Rubio did it. Everyone on the Trump administration now, they're going out there and they're just fighting back. They're not taking it. They're not trying to answer these questions because it's not fair. They know it's not fair and they are having none of it. And I am here for it so much. I just love that. They're not playing nice with the media at all, especially like CNN. You know, like when Trump asks them, someone will ask him a question. He thinks it's dumb, and I'll go, "Where are you from? What's your organization?" And they'll tell him, and I go, "Figures." I just love that. He's putting them in their place, and so are his people, which I think is absolutely freaking fantastic. All right, a little bit more here. Speaking of putting people in their place. Pete Buttigieg, you know, Mr. Transportation, I don't know what he did during his time in office. They were supposed to build all of those charging stations. Nothing ever happened. I have no idea what Pete Buttigieg did when he was in charge of transportation, other than did you see when he got caught getting out of an SUV and having a Secret Service agent take his bicycle out of the back of the SUV, and then he rode to work? It looked like he was riding his bike to work, when in reality he took a limo ride, SUV ride to a block away, and then only bicycled the one block. Again, Democrats are great at cosplay and pretending to be something that they're not. And Pete Buttigieg is zero exception to that rule. Well, he has decided that he is not running for an open Senate seat in Michigan. The seat is being vacated, and so now it's open, and they're afraid that a Republican is going to take the seat. So they were kind of hoping that Pete Buttigieg would take the seat. He was polling the highest. He's got name recognition. And Terry McAuliffe once told me that he was dismissing me because I, was telling him about my Democrat representative, and he's like, oh yeah, well, he's going to win re-election because it doesn't matter what you stand for. It's all about. He didn't really say it in that way, but he basically said to me, it's all about name recognition. And I was like, and he's right. And they know it. He's totally right. You can be the worst person in the world, but so many people go in the voting booth and have no idea why they're there. They're shocked by the entire, why am I here? So they just pull the lever for the name that sounds familiar. And that's what they're banking on with Buttigieg. That's what they're banking on for this seat. But now, since he's not doing it, he would be sworn in 2026 if he won. That would make him unable to run for president for 2028. So they're thinking that he's going to launch a presidential campaign because he polls right now as number 2 on the Democrat side behind Kamala Harris. Could you even imagine? And the thing is that Democrats will love it because they're like, yes, we can have the first openly gay president. Doesn't matter what he's accomplished. And the Democrats like that as well. They loved Barack Obama because he had basically no history. He voted president more than he did yay or nay when he was a senator. He very blank slate, and they cover up and make disappear whatever they need to disappear. So they love that blank slate. So you don't know what you're getting, only what they tell you. you're getting, they love that. So we can laugh at Pete Buttigieg, but I got to tell you, I think he stands a good chance in 28. I mean, it's super early now, but you don't know how it's going to all shake out. You don't know. Brock, thank you so much. Don't ever text me again at 4:25 in the morning. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. Mwah. I appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, Mary Walter Radio. Have a great weekend. Bye.